Hello and welcome to the last word on Spurs. We do hope you're keeping very, very safe and well. Thank you so much for joining us as we bring to you reaction from the Emirates after a fighting proud 2-2 draw from Tottenham Hotspur under Ange Postecoglou. Doesn't things feel so different for these first 6 games so far of this season? I'm joined by 3 great returning regular guests to last word on Spurs. We're going to bring you their reaction to that result up at the Emirates, the performance and everything that goes with it. So let's get straight into this one. Lee, love to see you back on last one on Spurs. You are smiling. You're back in the Spurs garm. It means something special in the air, right? How are you, firstly?
Well, first, I'm very good, mate. And I am back in the garb. I said that I was going on a bit of a hiatus on the garb, and I'm back with Vicario's garb because this bloke got written off before he'd even kicked a ball for Tottenham Hotspur. And the goalkeeper is absolute mustard. And I'd have him all day long over that gooner Raya. All day long. So I am wearing the garb for him tonight. But no, look, really good, Rick. I think going out there doing the business. And Rick, can I just ask, are you a little bit hoarse there? Have you been shouting or
maybe a little bit? Maybe a little bit. Yeah, because I've calmed down second half. I just thought at the end could see the point out, which is mad because during that game I really felt we could have gone for all 3. But it's been a really, really exciting afternoon. One that's been full of a lot of emotion, roller coaster feelings up and down. And like many fans, I think fans will feel disappointed. Some will feel disappointed not to win it. Some will feel relieved to come over with a point, such as the nature of a derby like that. Back on also been a while. I'd like to have Frankie Major. Frank back on last one Spurs. Frank, how are you, my friend? You okay?
Good to be back, Rick. Intense game today. I said to you before we came on, before we came live, very intense. I didn't enjoy that last 15 minutes, but the overall performance, fantastic. It's good to support Spurs again. I'm really enjoying this football. Some of the passages of play, it's great to watch, and it's long overdue. It's been a while, Rick, since we've been able to watch this type of football. So refreshing, enjoying the season so far, and long may it continue.
Absolutely. Frank, many say the fact that they see you smiling again watching Tottenham is actually a thing that's obviously been in the past now, hopefully under Ange. Could be a regular thing, Frank, potentially at the moment, the way things are going?
Well, I don't want to get too ahead of myself. It's a big game next week as well, but I'm just enjoying my football. The stadium's buzzing for the home games. It's a pleasure going into work on Monday, where it wasn't last season. And I just, at the moment, listen, it's very early, Rick. We're not even in November, but I love this squad. I love the unity. I love the manager. I love the way the manager speaks. I love going to games again. I'm just loving my football and loving Tottenham Hotspur Football Club again at the moment. And as I said, it's been a while. It's been 3-4 years since I felt like this. So yeah, big smiles, smiling inside. And as I said, long may it continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's still very, very early days, but you can't help but be excited by what we're seeing. Pat, you've been asked the question as well. You're still smiling at the moment. Bear in mind, I think, again, this season coming into it, there was an air of trepidation, of course. I think, again, to some, Ange was a fairly unknown. But he's taken the league by storm at the moment. And bearing in mind, we go on to the Emirates and feel maybe we're disappointed not to win it. I think that says a lot about how far this Spurs side have come in, just 6 games. Pat, before we get into it, just how proud were you of the boys and that performance up at the Emirates today?
Oh, super proud. And I think I quote tweeted the last word on Spurs upcoming show thing. And I said, listen, regardless of what happens today, I just want to see a performance that makes us proud. No sitting behind the ball bollocks. Go out there, play your game. Obviously respect opposition. They're a good team, but also impose ourselves on the game. And we did that and some. Like, I couldn't have foresaw the way we was going to play today. And I must say, though, I'm jealous that I didn't think outside the box like Lee and go for the goalkeeper kit, because that kit is nice, man. I'm in an hour about buying like a kit this year. I obviously went for the away one and got the hat to match as well, but I wish I would have thought outside the box and got that, because that looks sexy, man. And after Vicario's performance today, I rate you, Lee. Looking good.
Pat, so just to clarify, right, in front of 1,100, 1,200 people live, and all the listeners, you've just said I'm sexy, basically.
Hey, listen, after a performance like
I'm here for it, baby. I'm here for it. I'm here all week.
We know it's quite funny. I mean, again, it's obviously we're recording fairly only a few hours after the show, but you already feel and hear the despair from a lot of Arsenal fans that in large periods of that game, Spurs did outplay them to some degree in their own backyard. And, you know, we've said that point, to be so proud of this team, 6 games in, still unbeaten in the Premier League, to go to the Emirates, to outpass them, to outfought them at times. To, again, you look at the amount of position Spurs held over that game. And I think you've got to be very, very proud of that performance. It shows a lot how far Spurs have come in just a very, very short amount of time under Ange Postecoglou. So let's get into things. Lee, let's open up with you. It's a first point at the Emirates since 2019. I think it's fair to say Vicario, Van der Ven, Basuma, Maddison, Son were pretty much the standout performers. And I've got to say, Adobe did so well as well to recover from a very tough opening where he was booked. Previous teams will have let their heads drop multiple times at that ground. But this group, Lee, unlike others, dare I say, back to the days of you-know-who, they keep on coming, they keep believing, they keep pushing. And as I said from the opening intro, very, very exciting time to be a Spurs fan right now.
Yeah, totally, mate. I mean, it was very even, wasn't it? 13 shots to them, 13 shots to us. They had 6 on target. We only had 5, but you could argue some of them were a bit weak for them. 373 passes to Tottenham in their own backyard. They only had 313, 53% possession, as some of the guys and girls are quoted in the comments as well for older listeners. We had the lion's share of the ball. We had the lion's share of the passes. We had the lion's share of the chances in their own backyard. And this is a team that, let's be honest about it, 2-3 months ago, before Big Ange turned up, we were parking 2 buses and waiting for Kane or Son to get on the break. Now we're taking the ball to them. We've got double diamonds down the right-hand side, down the left-hand side. We're getting a doggy that is that I thought he had his probably his shakiest moments in the first 15 minutes of the game, maybe even in the first 20. After that, I thought it was absolutely first class yet again. I know we're going to get into it player by player, but Van der Ven, I mean, literally, come and talk to me, Mickey Van der Ven. I mean, absolutely outstanding. And Romero as well. I mean, you're looking at it, he scores an own goal. He gives away a proper dodgy penalty, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm biased, but in my opinion. And he still puts in a performance like the performance that he put in. I thought all over the pitch we were brilliant. And just to shout out to Paul Merson, obviously massive Chelsea fan and obviously Arsenal player. We got absolutely annihilated, didn't we, today, Merce? Absolutely annihilated. What was it? We're going to get absolutely blown away, was it? We got 4-0.
Ripped to shreds, wasn't it? Ripped to shreds.
Ripped to shreds, we were. Ripped to shreds. Well, I think today it's shown everybody, if the Man United game at home didn't, and if the absolute shooing of Burnley away didn't, and if the absolute desire to go and win against Sheffield United didn't, I think everything's shown today that we're 6 weeks in or 6 games in to a new project, and we are cooking. We are absolutely cooking. So no one wants to come to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and no one wants us to come to their ground as well. And I am absolutely here for it, Rick. And I don't care if I'm getting carried away, because for the first time in generally, I go to all the home games and I go to the away games that I can get. And generally, for the first time since probably the final of the Champions League, which I was at, I'm actually enjoying watching Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, and I'm getting carried away. Why not? I'm not saying I'm going to win the league. I'm just loving it, mate. Absolutely loving it.
It's madly you got that far back to really try and bring us to kind of where we are right now about the excitement that we have for such a young, fearless team, and that's the lovely thing about it. Frank, to bring you in, look, even after a couple of mistakes and that big Jesus chance, what I love about Spurs today is that we really stuck to the footballing principles and the way we played the ball around the park. We most certainly, as we saw, dominated possession towards the end of that first half and even shaded it in the second half. We managed the occasion as almost as many shots as on the opposition's goal, but there's so much to build on. And it definitely feels like, Frank, that it's a different Tottenham than the years gone by. Am I fair to say that, Frank, only that we're in 6 games of this new season? Is that fair?
Totally. And I think as well as we could sit here waxing lyrical about Ange for hours, and he's done a fantastic job. But for once, we've got the recruitment right. Technically, we're a very good team. We haven't technically been a good team for years. You look at Lloris, with all due respect, absolutely miles off it with the ball at his feet, and he's cost us. You cannot play out with a goalkeeper like that. Vicario, sometimes I forget that he's right-footed because he's so comfortable on his left. He's so cool. The way that we try and draw teams in there, we're able to do that. And there were times under Conte we tried to do that, but we didn't have the players. It's all very well and good trying to do that, but we couldn't. Obviously, it was a totally different style of football, but there were times where we'd try and draw teams on and play around them, and we couldn't do it. So the recruitment's been spot on. Pedro Porro's grown into his role. Van der Ven, to me, arguably better than Romero at the moment, dare I say it. I mean, he looks a Rolls Royce of a defender. Udogie, tough start today. He was left one-on-one multiple times, and that was the tactic, wasn't it? And the commentary alluded to that we didn't double up on Saka, and he was left on his own against the top player in Saka, and he did recover well. But in the midfield, that midfield three, all capable. Although Sarr perhaps in the first half a little bit rash and wild with the ball at his feet, but when Bentancur comes back into that midfield, we're just technically a top team at the moment. We're so capable and comfortable, and that allows us to play that brand of football and be brave and go away. And I think the characteristics of this team and the character that they're showing, again, going twice behind at a stadium that typically we collapse at as soon as we. I mean, history tells you we've started well sometimes at the Emirates, or we've gone behind with equalise as we did last season, and then we go behind again, which we did last season, and we fell apart. We didn't do that this time, and I just love the character in this team. But I mean, Kulusevski as well for perhaps what he lacks in pace, technically, really good player. He will ask for that ball anywhere on the pitch. He'll have three players around him. He'll still want the ball, and we haven't had that. So as well as the manager's done. He's done an unbelievable job in galvanising the whole club, not just the team. The relationship between the team and the players and him, the three that he picked to lead the club in Romero, Maddison and Son, it's worked. I think Son gave Romero a massive kiss when he came off today, didn't he? And he gave him the armband. I haven't seen that at Spurs for years. I didn't see that under the Poch team. And don't underestimate that. You know, football's changed. Pep Guardiola has changed football. You have to be able to play now and play through the press. And we've got press-resistant players that we haven't had. Last season, we were overrunning midfield every single week. We had 2 against 3. We had 3 at the back with no pace and technically not that comfortable. And it's just so refreshing. But for a relatively young side, a lot of that team are what, between the ages of 20 and 23 years old. The majority of that team, I'd say, to go there. Granted, Martinelli wasn't playing, Trossard wasn't playing, Rice came off at half time. You know, the context, I'm not naive, but the signs of progression are there. And we are not a million miles off it, Rick. If we go and sign 4 or 5 players, perhaps over the next couple of windows, defensively, backup goalkeeper, we could have that conversation another time. But if we get that right, the next 4 or 5, then we'll be in a really good place. And a lot of credit has to go to the Don, Fabio Paratici. It's a shame he's leaving the club. He has to leave, unfortunately. But that guy has changed everything. Not just with the recruitment at youth level, because I know that for a fact. The conversations that were had when he joined, and he was stunned at how poor we were at the youth level. Signing good youth players, he's done so much for this club, and it's great. And we're in a really good place, Rick. A really good place. It's a big test on Saturday, don't get me wrong. But then we have a better run. And if we can keep, as you said off air, if we could keep that 13 or 14 fit for the large part of the season, we'll be okay.
Yeah, I think that is very much the key. And I think, again, when people watch this today, Pat, come over to you, that they'll feel that providing you have the likes of the Maddisons on the pitch, the Sonnies on the pitch, as we've seen, Spurs have got a real genuine chance this season with that 12-13 to maybe potentially really compete. And again, we don't get carried away. It is only 6 games in. But you have to say, Pat, look, it was a really, really deserved point for Spurs, who kept on playing the same way, even when it looked like at times it might cost them in the first half. But it's a really fine result in only the 7th match of Postecoglou's era at the club. Some of a brace to earn a share of the points and fully deserved. The great thing about it, as I said, is Spurs were bold. They were brave, as Ange actually insisted before the game. And look, it's not the result all of us maybe would have wanted. I think many would have gone and looked at that last half an hour and thought Arsenal maybe were there for the taking. Of course, with Rice not on the pitch in the second half. But I think our players can be really proud of the resilience, character shown, that every time, Pat, we encountered a difficulty in that game, we came back, we fought our way back. And I think for them, you can't feel anything but proud. And only feel, as Lee's alluded to as well, this is only the beginning of a journey which feels very, very special to be at when we've overseen these first 6 games of the Premier League and what is to come.
Yeah, I mean, Spurs fans, you just got to think about it like this. We're only 6 games in, 6 weeks, 8 weeks into our process. This Arteta guy's been there for 4 years now. They've spent bundles of millions and they've got a really good team. The Emirates is a fortress. It's a tough ground to go to. Our record there stinks. We haven't won there since 2010. And since then, we've had 8 losses and 4 draws. And the fact that we went there today and we played the way we did, I've just got to pop my collar. Now, I've got the shirt on, it's got the collar, so I had to do that. And it's just, I'm so proud and pleased because, like, there's ways to win football games, there's ways to get results, there's ways to lose. And I know you guys are saying that we could have potentially got the win, but the naivety of going gung-ho in the last 15 when your legs are tired and we end up losing that game 3-2. And the narrative would have been, oh yeah, we all knew Spurs were going to lose. They put up a good fight, but all in all, Arsenal the better team, yada yada. But we actually got something out of that. And there's no one out there that can say we didn't deserve to get at least a result, at least a point out of it. And the fact that we went there, we played our brand of football. At times I was really scared and worried, especially in the first 15, because we looked a bit shaky. We stuck to our principles, which I really rate. And the fact that we did it today at the Emirates against a top team, that will give these guys all sorts of belief and confidence going through the season. We stuck to our principles. We went a goal down twice, still played our game, didn't, our heads didn't drop. Like you said, Udogie, first real test, let's all be honest, as much as we hate the guys and we don't, Saka is a top player, one of the best players in this position in the world. And you can see it every time he gets the ball. He's so strong on the ball. He usually makes the right decision. He scares the life out of players. But Udogie stood tall, didn't shirk and didn't hide, and he was on a yellow. And the fact is, even after he kind of got cooked, he still stuck to what he knows. And he was giving them problems going forward. He was still going in for tackles, still winning the ball, still pushing the team up. And that's what I like about these wing backs now. They actually push us up the pitch. We're not camped. We're not sitting back. You see even the goalkeeper pushing the players up. Mickey van der Ven looked so assured. He looked like he'd been there for 5 or 6 years. Romero, people said he had a bad game. I don't think he had a bad game. He was unfortunate with the first goal. Yeah, maybe he could have sorted his feet out a bit better. And the penalty, what's he meant to do? Like, he didn't actually move his hand to the ball. He obviously went to block the shot. His hand was in a natural position. I think it was harsh. By the letters of the law, it is a penalty. But even now, I'm still confused of what's a pen and what's not. Because some weeks they're given, some weeks they're not. So I'm still confused of what is a penalty and what isn't. But by the by, Romero was fantastic. Again, he didn't shy away from the ball. And he was making some good passes. And again, pushing us up the pitch. The fact that we retained possession against a top team as well, that shows me that we are a good team now. Like you said, technically we're really sound. I think Pat Matasar probably had his worst game that I've seen him have. And it's not me digging him out. I think he was still good, but in the first half, he looked a bit shaky, sometimes giving the ball away needlessly. I think he probably let the occasion get to him and he played the occasion instead of the game. But all in all, brilliant. And there's even Spurs fans, dare I say it, that have been getting onto Sonny. Son's finished. Why is he still starting for us? Even though he scored a hat-trick, he's been poor. And I'm like, is this the same guy? Son's movement off the ball is exceptional. And the way he got across those first, the 3 defenders for his first goal and that finish, not many players in world football can do that. Again, the second goal, Maddison waited past, brilliant. Son didn't, kept his composure, his coolness, slotted the ball away. Son's a fantastic player, man. And we're lucky to have him. He's brilliant. And he's not someone that you typically say is a captain material. But the way I'm seeing him, how he leads the troops, how he brings everyone together, just the love that he has for everyone, and how even, obviously, we saw what he did when R9 did what he did last week. And then today, the way he just obviously, when he went off and he gave the captain armband to Romero, and basically, just how he brings everyone together. He's a fantastic player. And Maddison as well. Again, there's been this comparisons on a lot of fan channels. Everyone talk about Odegaard, Maddison, Odegaard. I think today we saw who we would rather have in our team. The guy was brilliant. His first big game, and he ran the show, man. The way he turned Saka for that first goal, oh my God. And that cutback, that was brilliant. And again, he always wanted to be on the ball. He was dropping deep at times. When he saw we were getting pushed back, and this is what I love, the intelligence of our players. The manager's obviously not relaying every single instruction to them. But when Maddison saw we were getting a bit camped, he was dropping deeper to get the ball and push us up the pitch. And this is intelligence, and this is people understanding their roles and adapting as the game's going on. And I just think, all in all, every player had a brilliant game. Brennan Johson as well. First start for him. And I thought he looked good. Yeah, he should have scored. And yeah, he took his chances a bit better. Yeah, but he looked like he fitted in. Like, you didn't look at him and think he was out of place. And technically, he's a lot better than what I thought he was, if I'm being honest. And I think he's going to scare a lot of teams with his pace and his directness. So I think Postecoglou got the lineup right. again, we got to give the manager credit, because in big games like this, you can make a few changes and get it wrong. And Pedro Porro as well, someone that we've all said defensively isn't really at it. Today, he looked good. He looked good going forward and defensively. I think, all in all, a brilliant performance from every single man. And obviously, we'll get into it. But yeah, and I thought the fans were fantastic as well. We could hear them at every single day. So shout out to anyone that was there. You guys were brilliant. And when we scored straight after they scored, the roar in the stadium. And also as well, when they announced the 10 minutes, like you heard our fans even saying, yeah, let's go, let's get it. So I love that, man. So shout out to everyone that was there. It was brilliant.
Oh, Gary Neville, when they scored and they went 2-1 up straight away, he said, I'm concerned about how they're celebrating, because they over-celebrated. They did. And I think that emotion comes from Arteta. He lets his emotions control him. And I think we've got the opposite with Ange. Ange is so cool and calm. And I think that's definitely feeds into your team. It does.
We had that with Conte, didn't we, last season, where it was a complete opposite. And Conte's like just so much like passion and pressure, and it definitely. I totally agree with you, mate. It feeds into the team. Like the leader feeds into the team, and the calmness, and just go play your football. The camera pans to Ange, and he's like, just got his hands in his pockets. He's like, "You all right, mate?"
It's just, you know what, it's so spot on with Ange, because the thing, like you said there, Frank, you mentioned it there, is so true that, it does all channel back from the manager. That when you see him on the touchline so calm, there's a reason why, even despite the fact we've gone down twice today, there is that calmness, coolness that we're going to get back into this game that normally with Tottenham at Arsenal away, you don't normally ever feel or see. But even fans now are saying, I actually was going into today. I know for many, it's the worst game, and in terms of trying to actually have to watch it to bear it. But the fact that many came away from today actually disappointed that we didn't take all three says just a lot about the trajectory right now where we're on. And, Frank brought him up. Leo, I have to ask you about Postecoglou. He's the first Tottenham manager to avoid defeat against Mikel Arteta's Arsenal at the Emirates. Has there, I wonder, Lee, ever been a football manager who's made such a profound positive impact on a club in such a short space amount of time? We're literally talking, Lee, weeks here, aren't we? We're talking weeks. We're not even really talking months. I mean, it is an incredible transformation, right? Can you believe what you're seeing right now with this manager who, to be fair to many in the summer, was a complete unknown entity? And I've got to say, many laughed when Ange took the Tottenham job. And right now he's rubbing...
You laughed. I had to tell you in the group chat. I had to tell you.
You did.
This guy's an unbelievable communicator. We saw a hashtag, no to Ange. And this is why the snobbery sometimes of Premier League football fans who don't watch anything outside of their own league and they don't see what goes on, you sometimes don't make rash decisions or judgments. There was a hashtag, no to Ange. Unbelievable. And I must say myself, I should give him a chance. Jamie Brown, Daily Hotspur, said Ange is a top manager. This is the guy we want. He did. Jamie said that.
He did.
And I'm so glad Donna Cullen for all of the poor decisions she's made, PR at the football club. The one good decision she's made is not getting Pochettino back, because we know that was her that didn't want him back, and appointing Ange. So fair play.
And we'll talk about that other man, because he might not be in a job till we come and face him, Lee. I mean, you made that joke earlier about Poch. He might not even be there when we come and face Chelsea at this rate.
He won't be. I've been saying it for weeks, and today's just compounded that fact as well. And look, and I was one of his staunch people to come back. But you can't argue with the fact that, Ange has done an unbelievable job. I mean, it was tongue-in-cheek, but I think I was the first one to break the news that Ange was incoming. Go and check the tweets, baby. Go and check the tweets. Tier 1. Don't even worry about that. But look, I mean... I'm surprised, Rick. I'm almost lost for words, because what he has done it's not like he's been here for 18 months or for a year. He's been here for 10 minutes, this fella. And he is literally he's just flipped it. It's like a pancake. He's just gone boom, flipped it over. And we're cooking. Look, I think Frank made a really good point at the beginning as well about Don Paratici, because some of the recruitment's been outstanding. I mean, you look at Mickey van der Ven, it's exactly what we needed. You look at Rick, you've been talking about it for months and weeks, and here's your bingo card people, the lot picker. James Maddison, again, 2 assists. Absolutely, just literally a no-brainer to come to Tottenham. He's fitted like a glove. But what Ange has done, and what I love about his post-match press conference as well for the chance. I know the viewers on, the listeners on audio will listen to it in the breaks that Rick puts in. But some of the quotes he talked about, I know you'll read them out, Rick, but he talks about the fact that the players are the ones that have got the vibe going. It's not even him. He's talking about the players, and this is just a measure of the man because it is him. But he's just saying, no, it's the players, but it's not. It's you, Ange, and we love you, mate. We absolutely love you.
Lee, the culture's manifested itself because of the responsibility that the manager's given the players and the leadership team that he's appointed. So it comes from him, but then they've created that themselves because of him.
Exactly that. And, Huss on there, Lee, lost for words, never. Yeah, fair play to you, Huss. But look, I mean, I think today just shows. I mean, you what did you say earlier, Rick? You said the stat, we haven't got a point from the Emirates since 2019. So that's 4 seasons, right? We ain't got nothing. We've walked in here 6 games in, or this is our 6th game, and we've said, okay, we're not going to change. 53% possession we talked about before. It's not a massive majority, but it's more than what Arsenal had at home. You go and have a look at their average home and away. It's about 67% possession. So we've turned them over on that as well. And actually turned them over on like passes in the final third, turned them over on touches in the opposition box, turned them over on dribbles, throughout the season as well, or ball carries. And this is down to Ange and the players. It's just been phenomenal, absolutely fantastic. And here's the thing, 6 weeks in, you can talk about getting carried away or not. The reality is we'll see where we will finish. It's only 6 games in, but also 6 games in, and we're doing this. What we're going to be in 20 games, in 26 games, in 36 games. And that is what's exciting, isn't it, Rick? That is what's really, really encouraging. The fact that we're, I went to the Liverpool game at home last season. Eric Dyer giving the ball away to Mo Salah, coming in like 2-0 down at half-time, absolute shit show. And to be fair, we did turn up in the second half, and we were probably unlucky, actually, not to get a draw out of that game in the end, but the damage was done. We play Liverpool next. Anyone worried? I'll be honest with you, I cannot wait. I cannot wait to get down that stadium. I cannot wait to probably wear the garb again, and I cannot wait to sing Ange Postecoglou's name because it is ringing around that stadium and ringing around us fans, and I'm enjoying it. And long may it continue because as Tottenham fans, we all know, it doesn't tend to last. So I'm going to enjoy it while it is, and I've got a good feeling about it. I think we're going to turn them over as well, Rick.
Yeah, John. I mean, the feeling around just being a Spurs fan right now, and Lisa's there, why should you not get excited? We've had some really, really difficult years supporting this football club through some difficult spells. And I think when things are going well, if you can't enjoy it now, then when can you enjoy it? I think you can't be waiting in football to have to wait for moments of enjoyment. Right now, we're enjoying seeing this team play. We're enjoying the manager we've got in charge. We're enjoying the players, showing how much they love playing for the football club, love playing for the badge. So right now, just enjoy it. Why not? Ange said after the game and before it as well that the performance would be more important than the result and more than a deserved point. He would have been delighted by the way the team stuck to their guns and took the game to Arsenal. He said, really pleased. They're a top side. It's a tough place to come. Not much went our way in the game. We conceded an unlucky goal and then a VAR penalty. So it's not like everything was falling in our favour. Just real character and resilience from the boys. Showed a real belief in the kind of team we want to be. Even though there were times when it was difficult to do that, they just kept persevering, and that's credit to them. It's not about being happy with the result. For me, it's about the performance as well. You can get a result here, a draw, and walk away knowing that you know what we escaped. But I don't have that feeling. I think we went toe-to-toe with a top team. And at times, I thought we really asserted our dominance on the game. And at times, we did. But it happens when you face these top sides. Even if we had lost, I don't like losing. But for me, to keep pushing these guys, they need to feel out there that what we talk about and what we work on, they can see it come to fruition. And when it does against a top team, being brave with our approach, that's a key thing. For me, I'm ever so pleased. From my perspective, it doesn't say anything where we're at. I said before the game, we're still 6 games in, irrespective of the outcome. I think what's pleased me most is it's a player-driven and it's created a really good environment for themselves, as Frank mentioned, in which they push each other every day. They're willing to follow in terms of becoming the team we want to become, follow what we're becoming to try and provide for them in terms of information and structure. When you get that kind of belief from the players group, I think that accelerates the growth. We've still got a very young team. It's a long way to go from that point of view. The start is still the start for me, but just really proud with the way the players have embraced the fact we're going to be this kind of football team. And I think that's the case, isn't it? Coming over to you, Frank, that there is that real desire and will to become the team that they want to be. You know, it's Vicario, as Ange also paraphrased and said, his first derby. Destinies, Van der Ven, Pat Matasar, Brendan Johson, they're all in their early 20s. Porro even, Kulusevski, they're only 23. So when you've got such a young team there, they're all coming together. And to some degree, they show also a level of experience out there. Romero to come back from 2 difficult moments during the game. Basuma, who we knew last season, the way in which that was managed, you look at him now, he's a top player. Maddison and Sonny on a different level. The work rate, the ethic as a whole, Frank, can you be any more delighted than what you see from this young team that is coming together? And I have to keep reminding themselves, we're only 6 games in, Frank. We're only 6 games in.
Well, it can't get worse, can it? It can only get better. And I think that as the players begin to understand each other more, they build relationships on and off the pitch. That unity builds. The fans have bought into it, which helps. Obviously, playing without Europe this season, the majority of the games that we're going to have and we've had are Saturday games rather than Sundays at 4 o'clock or Monday nights. We've got some of them coming up. So this makes a difference to what I'm about to say. But I haven't seen as many fans stay behind in the stadium after games as Manchester United and Sheffield United at home. Again, the kick-off times definitely help because you haven't got to get back, you haven't got work in the morning, or most people haven't because it's a Saturday, 3 o'clock, that sort of time. But it's like a carnival in the stadium after games. I've not seen this before. Staying for half an hour singing songs. The players are engaging with the fans. It's so refreshing, and with it being such a young team, if we do add the right players to this collective of players that we have at the moment, and we sort of slowly phase out the players that we know can't do it that are still there, I'm really excited about where we could go. Obviously, different challenges will come our way. Next season, hopefully, we'll have Europe, so that's another challenge to try and navigate. That will be difficult, so things from that perspective will change. But yeah, it feels, it's just refreshing. And although I felt and I said that Ange is a great communicator, he brings people together. You could see what he done at Celtic. Celtic fans, the way they spoke about him, and they win everything every year. So for them to speak so differently about him as they had and have about their other managers, for me, spoke volumes about potentially what he could bring to the club. But I didn't realise he'd have this impact. I don't think anyone realised, actually. We've gone from having, with all due respect, because he's been a brilliant servant to the club, but Hugo Lloris, he's not the best in front of the cameras. Harry Kane is not the best in front of the cameras, with all due respect. Eric Dyer, this is the leadership group from last season, is not the best. His demeanour isn't the most positive. We've now got James Maddison. I think one of his post-match comments was about Saka and his dart celebration. Said, "Oh, he must have still been doing that when I turned him for the first goal." He's a character, isn't he? He's got so much charisma, James Maddison. We've got a manager who speaks so eloquently. He's articulate. He's intelligent. He's emotionally so intelligent. He gets it. Have you ever heard him give a wrong answer or an answer that you think, what's he said there? And again, when he'll become under more pressure at some point, you know, there'll be times where he will face adversity, but I just can't see, with him being such a communicator, him messing up basically, or saying the wrong thing, or breaking or cracking under the pressure. I just can't see it. And we've gone from managers like Conte, who, again, his English wasn't the best at times, but he was so emotional. So when he was down, he was really down. And it was painful at times, and it was the end of the world. Again, this stuff transpires to the team. You had Jose, who's a very sort of Marmite type character, and he can be very difficult and very sarcastic. The way that he is with the media, he can be very cold. And again, that's not the best. Pochettino, as much as he was brilliant for the football club, I won't sort of slander Pochettino, but cows crossing the road. And what was that about the other night with Chelsea, about the lemons, the green lemons, and he wanted an orange lemon? I mean, what sort of...
He needed a blue one, didn't he?
He needed a blue one. I mean, my friend said to me, I've still got PTSD over all this nonsense from years gone by. You know, the cows crossing the road one, that was the best for me. So in my time at Spurs, and Harry was a character, but he was nowhere near as articulate and thoughtful and well-spoken as Ange. He's the best communicator, coach that we've ever had at Tottenham in my lifetime. And all of this stuff, the ingredients that this is, we're mixing with at the moment, this, as Lee said, we're cooking this dish, this masterpiece dish that we're trying to cook. The ingredients seem right, and the characters in the dressing room seem right. The recruitment's been brilliant. Again, I want to say another word about Mickey van der Ven. This is a guy that Tim Sherwood said was wooden. By the way, when he first saw him, he was wooden and he was concerned about him. I mean,
he used to manage us as well. This bloke, he was saying this bloke's wooden, and he used to be our manager. I mean, have a word with yourselves.
He is unbelievable, Mickey van der Ven. How old is he, Lee? You know, where's the black book? How old is he?
Mate, he's 22. 22 years old.
2 years old. I mean, he's unbelievable. He's so calm under pressure. And I mean, if he was the cheap option over Edmund Tapsoba, then give me some more cheap options. Same with Vicario. I want some more of these cheap options because, again, the recruitment has been brilliant, but the characters, they all seem to be buying into what's happening at the moment. And I just, as I say, I'm so happy at the moment to be a Spurs fan. It's a strange feeling. It's not strange. It's unusual. It's not something that we used to, but brilliant, really good. And I love what he's building. And as you've all said, this is 6 Premier League games into the season. You know, this is the very beginning. Give this guy time. Sorry, yes, it's a 6. Give this guy time.
We have to remind ourselves, Frank. We have to remind ourselves it's only 6, right? Because again, you know, the fact that
it feels more. It feels like he's been here for a long time, but he hasn't.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the same. A lot of the players as well, Frank. A lot of the players as well. You feel as well. They've been here for a very, very long time. Pat, I'm going to bring you in. Look. After the game, Postecoglou said he thought the fullbacks had a difficult job. He said Arsenal about standing wide players, but they dealt with it very, very well. Destiny after picking up the yellow card, I felt he dealt with it and ended up as a dominant player on that side. It will be a great learning experience for him. We did have confirmation after the game from Ange Postecoglou that Brennan Johson will need to be assessed after sustaining a hamstring injury in that game. He started, of course, his first game for Spurs, and he had to be withdrawn on the 63rd minute after going down while running back towards his goal. James Maddison also, as we've been heard from Ange, wasn't 100% going into the game, but we've been told he's got through it and he should be fine. But look, again, we've got a week of preparation ahead of Liverpool to come. Arteta, actually, after the game, Pat, said, I think they're a really good side. They've got a really good coach. You can see the spirit in the team and the energy. But 6 games in, it's too early to make a judgment on what they'll be fighting for at the end of the season. The one thing I will say about Ange, and you'll be seeing this, Pat, as well, he is getting a lot of love from opposing managers, even in rivalries like this, that even I've seen Arsenal fans say they want to hate this guy, but they just can't. There's something very, very likeable about him. Have we just got to bottle this and use it to advantage, Pat, the way in which this guy is not only making us fall in love with him, but the rest of the media? Is that a good or a bad thing, Pat, in your
it's a great thing, man. And Spurs fans enjoy it. Lap up this moment. We're still unbeaten, and we've played Man United and Arsenal away. We've had a tough game against Brentford away, our first game. You know, our fixture list hasn't been as kind as people are making it out. Obviously, it could be tougher, but you look at Man City, and they haven't played any big team yet. You look at Liverpool, and arguably they haven't played any big team yet. They've got us next week. So, you know, our fixture list has been relatively tough, especially for a new manager and a lot of new players, a lot of young players as well. But yeah, bottle this in, let fans, you know, love our manager and everything like that. Obviously, with results will come expectation. So there will be a time when people will start to put pressure on us. But we're only so brand new in this cycle. So enjoy it, lap it up. Who knows what will happen at Liverpool or against Liverpool, on Saturday. But at the end of the day, we go into it with a lot of confidence. We know we don't really have bozos playing anymore. You won't see Eric Dyer literally assisting Mo Salah. You won't see these players sitting back behind the ball. You won't see Conte coming out with negative stuff after the game. So enjoy it. The fans have been 100% on side. You hear them chanting home and away. Like Frank said, like after the last home game, we were there for like...
Hang on, Pat. I'm just hearing here. Breaking news here. Eric Dyer starts against Liverpool.
God, don't wish things like that. My God,
he wasn't. Thank God he wasn't on the bench for this game, because he snuck into the squad against Sheffield United. I was like, how the hell did he manage that? So yeah, we don't want to see. You know, I'm not trying to be negative or call him out, or it's not a witch hunt against Eric Dyer, because at the end of the day, he was a Spurs player. He was a good player for a while, but he's been so past it, just like Hugo Lloris. And sometimes, unfortunately for us, we've held on to players for too long, and those two guys fall into that category. But yeah, I mean, Mickey van der Ven, Vicario, a lot of people were onto him after the Brentford away. And look at today, I've had Arsenal fans say, you know what, this guy's a good goalkeeper. And they, they never really give you any credit. And again, rival fans telling me that the guy looks good. He made some good saves. He was commanding in his box on crosses. Maybe one or two he flapped at that he could have done better at. But all in all, he had a great game. And he doesn't give you that. Sometimes last season and the season before, Hugo Lloris, in big moments in games, he made you feel nervous. And that nervousness crept into the players and the back line. And Vicario doesn't give you that. Once or twice, yeah, he may have overhit a pass or whichever, but he wants the ball, he wants to play, he wants to build up from the back. And we were brave as well, very brave in possession. And, our defenders passing it across, Basuma dropping deep and making passes and angles, and same with Sarr. And if we can do the same against Liverpool, Liverpool are obviously a really good team. And I think they will be up there challenging this season. But they do concede a lot of chances, they do concede goals, and we can get at that back line. And as long as we can keep doing what we're doing, I think we scored at least 2 goals in every game we played. You had a lot of Arsenal fans tell me, you guys give up a lot of chances. If you do that against us, it's going to be curtains. Obviously, today, you saw we came through. We stood strong, stood tall. Going back to what you said about...
I think it's sorry to interrupt, but I just want to pick you up on that and get you to come back in.
Yeah.
All these Arsenal fans saying, we're going to give up a lot of chances, Paul Merson, everyone else, this, that, and the other. They had 13 attempts, right? 6 on target, to be fair to him. 6, which is one more than us.
Yeah.
Honestly, Vicario, I'm wearing his top, mate. I'm absolutely loving Vicario, but he didn't make 6 outstanding saves today, did he? On them 6 on target. And actually, we gave him an own goal and a penalty. Where else did he make an unbelievable save?
Positioning is really good, Lee. His position is really watching.
It wasn't as if Jesus was had 2 or 3 attempts, or Saka cut inside. I know he got the own goal, essentially, and he was their best player, to be fair. And I would tip my hat all day long to Saka, because I think he's absolutely superb. But outside of that, Odegaard, he went missing after that yellow card. Well, what did Odegaard do today? With all due respect, nothing. Absolutely nothing. What else? Exactly. What their attacking fullback, Zinchenko, inverted. What did he do? He didn't even get in the final third.
Yodoji probably had his shakiest game, and he was still miles above Zinchenko. There's no way you can tell me Yodoji's not better than Zinchenko. He's 100% better than him, and he's only 20 years old.
And to balance that in terms of opportunities, right? But Sarr, it was a kind of a cross going in. If that was a Raya save, then Johnson, point blank save, Raya save, absolutely outstanding. And then obviously, that's where the goal came from. Through them rebounds and recycling the play, and Maddison going in and all that stuff. And I think Raya had another unbelievable save from Johnson in the first half as well. I think he's made. Well, we've only had 5 on target, but he's made 3 outstanding saves. They've had 6 on target, and I don't remember Vicario having a save. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
you're right.
It's a weird one.
Yeah. You're right. And I think as well, annoyingly, obviously Romero did his job as a defender, trying to block every shot that's potentially on target. But Vicario had that Saka shots covered. He would have saved it, but it happens, and there's an own goal, annoyingly. But if you look at the actual quality of the chances, we created the better chances. We had the more clear-cut chances. David Raya save for the Brennan Johson shot, unbelievable. But Johnson didn't catch it as clean as you would like, but it was still at pace and on target, and he clawed it from literally behind his shoulder, over his shoulder. Fantastic save. But Raya probably had a lot more to do than Vicario. So it just goes to show we created good chances and potentially limited them. Odegaard didn't do much today. He's a player that, when you're playing against him, you fear him getting on the ball, because he's very good at dictating games. He's good in pockets, and he obviously usually finds the right pass or gets a good shot off target. But we actually contained him today. And Maddison, for me, ran rings around their midfield. Basuma grew into the game as well. When he dropped his shoulder and sent 2 of them the other way, and then he made a move, the whole stadium was like, ooh, even their fans had to applaud that. They have to. He looked great. Sarr grew into the game. Again, wasn't his best game. If you're neutral and you don't watch us all the time, you might be like, this Sarr kid's not that good. But he is. He just didn't have a great game. But I think all in all, every player played well. Manor Solomon, he came on, he did a decent job. And I thought Kulusevski, he's going to be an unsung hero. No one's really going to talk about him, but he ran his socks off. He worked and worked and worked, tracked back, picked up the ball, was always direct, always looking to make a play. And he's not the quickest and, most elegant, but if you actually look at what he does and the chances he creates and how he progresses the ball, he's a top player. And I thought he was really good again today.
Yeah, no, I do agree. So what we are going to do before we go for that break, James Maddison said as well, as Frank alluded to earlier, along with that comment about the darts, he said, neutrals talk about Tottenham, they often say soft, weak, bottle it, Spursy, all that rubbish. I think the last couple of weeks shows we might be going in a slightly different direction. So big words there from James Maddison, quoted earlier this evening. What we are going to do, we are going to go for our first break of the show for our listeners and audio. Tell me to that break you're going to hear. I was going to say from a jubilant Aaron Postecoglou, but his mood never changes despite the result or performances. So it's the level-headed nature of Aaron Postecoglou leading you in to that first break of the show for our listeners and audio. There's over 17 to 1,800 of you watching us live. Thank you ever so much for all your incredible support for Last Word on Spurs. Just a little bit of housekeeping. We're pleased to announce Last Word on Spurs has made the finals of the Football Content Awards for 2023. That means we do need to go one step further now. Whilst you voted to nominate us to be in there, we now need to vote for us to win the bloody thing. Can you help Spurs and Last One on Spurs win a trophy? We'll have more details on that later in the week for sure. So again, thank you for all your votes. Thank you for all your support. You're going to vote for us now one more time. Get us over the line to win that competition. More details to come your way. I'm going to show you the stats from today as Lee has been eager to get in these as well for our listeners and audio. Whilst I do that, just a couple of listener statements that we've had in from the show that we always try and bring to you. Elliot Saraf says, every single Spurs player played their part today and subs. To think this was Andy's sixth game in the league with this squad is quite frighteningly exciting. However, Maddison is the new player I do worry about whenever he goes down injured. And I think, again, we have to also make that point. That was a bit of a concern when Maddison went down. I think Elliot will ask the question, who can we replace him with? We'll come on to that most certainly during the show. Sperano says, do we guys think the Gary Neville commentary was harsh on Udogie? We've actually saved an Udogie section for the show. So most certainly we'll come on to that as well. Past my prime and out of time says, we controlled the match. We scored 3 of the goals and gave them a pen. Overall, I'm okay with this. We can only improve, but surely the match was there for the taking. So again, I make that point. Many frustrated the fact Spurs maybe didn't go on to win it. Matt Martin says, what a great game to be at. Just so proud of the boys. We outclassed them to a man. One lucky own goal and a dodgy pen is all they had. Too many superb performances to highlight and single out. But you have to ask the question, could we have gone on and won it? And what are those expectations now for the season on the back of that? Mark Jarrett says, wow, staggering how far we've come just 6 games in. I'd love to know what the panel think we have in terms of weaknesses and where that can be improved upon. We'll definitely put that to the boys towards the end of the show. G Division asked that question. 2 points dropped. And Lily Hotspur says, we are so back. Could not be helpful and braver in some sequences, but we're up half. And I think many are asking that question, as I think we touched on, boys, during the show and off air, that concern is if we have only the 12, 13, 14 players, is that enough to see us over the line? Because I think, again, there's most certainly a bit of an alarming drop-off when you do lose some of those players like the Maddisons that go off and the Sonnies. Because I think, again, if you have them on for that final 15, 20, you could say it could be a different game. But look, it was an impressive start from Tottenham for sure. As you would have seen there for our listeners, for our watching audience, Spurs really outclassing Arsenal on most of the stats, just to run you through it there. Spurs trading possession overall, 53%, but we'll come on to it. There was points in that game Spurs had up to 62% of it. But shots on target, 13 each way. Arsenal edging it on the 6 shots to 5. But pretty much Spurs overall, they were fairly dominant in that game. And again, I think half-time would show that more than the full-time ones. But overall, I think, again, happy with the point. We could have asked for more. I'll come round to Lee if I can, just to open up the lineup for this one, Lee. Lee will see there, we've had a bit of a change around. The graphics are refreshed. Everybody is in their new kits for the season.
Mullet. No mullet for Porro.
No mullet for Pedro Porro. The refreshing graphics of this new Spurs team following the window closure. So Postecoglou named his first ever North London derby 11. He handed Brennan Johson that first start for Spurs. He played on the left with Kulusevski taking up his place on the right after that winner last weekend. Heung-min Son, captain of Spurs, played right directly down through the middle. And at the back, Postecoglou stuck with that back 4 of Porro, Romero, Van der Ven and Udogie. The midfield remained the trio of Pat Matasar, Yves Bissouma and James Maddison for this battle at the Emirates. And young summer signing, Hello Veliz got his spot on the bench. Also, just to bring to your attention, the Celso Hill, Sessegnon, Bentancur remaining out for this one. So it read that team, Bukayo, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie, Sarr, Bissouma, Maddison, Kulusevski, Son, Johnson, with a bench of Forster, Emerson, Davis, Dyer, Højbjerg, Skip, Solomon, Richarlison, Veliz. Lee, is it fair to say I think there was much more attention going on to how Arsenal would line up than Spurs going into this one? What was your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the moment, with the exception of Johnson coming in for Solomon over the past 2 games, I think it was the right call today with his pace. And on another day, Johnson probably scores 1 or maybe even 2 today. Other than that, the team's picking itself, isn't it, Rick? At the moment, I mean, Vicario, Venom, my boy Venom, is like literally brilliant. And you're looking at a doggy's 20 years old, Van der Ven's 22, Romero's 24, it might be 25 actually. Porro's 24, just turned 24. That is a seriously young back line. We only saw one of them players in the defence last season. So it's completely different, really, other than Romero. And, I'm here for it. And I keep saying that because I'm absolutely loving it. The energy, the enthusiasm, the zero baggage on that kind of that back 4, back 5 is just brilliant. And then again, I agree with Pat. I don't think Sarr had his best game today, but again, I think he grew into it. And Pat did use these exact words, but I wrote them down just before he said them. Which, for me, I think that team today, for the first probably 23, 25 minutes, they played the occasion and not the game. And actually, I think, I'd love to be a fly on the wall. I think we all would be at Ange's halftime team talk. But I bet he had his hands in his pockets, Rick, and he probably was just walking around. He maybe took it out, stroked his beard a bit, and just went, just be calm, lads. Play your football. Just go out, mate. Just go out. And that's what they did. They come out and they just played their football, and they were calm. And even under the horrendousness of the penalty and that type of stuff. But I think Son down the middle again is proven. I think there's going to be there's things this season is going to be proven is that in some games, like you could argue Sheffield United, you can't drop the bloke because he just scored hat-trick against Burnley. But against Sheffield United, you probably need somebody else who's backing in, who's smashing up defenders because they've got a low block. But games like today, against Liverpool as well, against Man City, Burnley, because we've seen this massive space in behind, and Son thrives on that. Son's one of these players that has evolved from, I think Frank said this probably 6-7 months ago, to be fair, but he thrives on, he's evolved from being a left winger to somebody who's one of the best finishers in the league. Like, who else can finish? Erling Haaland, Harry Kane, obviously, when he was here with us, but in the Premier League, Mo Salah. Son's right up there with finishing. Finishes left foot, right foot, knows where the goal is. So for him to be putting up number 9, he's stuck another 2 goals in the back of the net today. So, it's very, very encouraging to see that team. And you're not worried. You're not worried anymore. Like, if Emerson Royale was there today, you're not worried. Coming into the side, if Solomon started and Johnson didn't, you're not worried. I know Perisic has just had a massive injury, but if Perisic is coming on, you're not worried. You're not worried. There is a drop-off, and I think, that's to answer one of the listeners' questions, what are our weaknesses? That's probably one of our weaknesses is if we drop off. But you've got to also look positive. So we've got Bentancur to come back in that starting lineup, Rick. Well, where's he going? I mean, you talk about Sarr. Bentancur's going to come in that midfield 3. We're going to have Bentancur, Maddison, and Basuma. I mean, are you joking me? This is. I'm getting carried away. I nearly said it. I nearly said the title word there. I nearly did.
I do agree with what. Yeah, I mean, I will agree. I will agree with what Frank says. I think, again, over the course of the next couple of windows, if we can get 4 or 5 in that fill in some of those areas, again, my worry is, again, that centre-back area. We have left ourselves potentially severely short. That, dare I say, an injury to Van der Ven or Romero, again, you do worry. Because of how good that back 4 has been, you don't really want to change it. We're lucky in the fact that we are advantageous, that we've only got the 1 game a week, so maybe you won't need to. But look, naturally with Spurs and with games coming over that Christmas period, you are going to need to rotate. So I did say, I think we've got 13, 14 games to go until January, where can we muddle through to then and then try and bring in a really senior centre back that'll help us hopefully really push on this season. And again, I know we're not really want to, alter or change expectations. No one really wants to say what they are right now. But the fact is, if Tottenham keep up this trajectory, Spurs are going to be right up there. Frank, to bring you in, we'll go straight to that opening goal of the game. Before we do, there was a first attack from Tottenham. Maddison released Johnson down the left. He cut it back. His shot was deflected over the crossbar. Cut the seconds after. Spurs did have the ball in the net after Son poked in Basuma's shot, but it was offside and he knew it as well. If I just quickly say, early yellow card for Destiny Udogie, a missed time challenge on Saka. And another sticky moment for him, as Nketiah got past him, but Vicario saved low. And he had to watch himself at that point, Udogie. We said that opening 20 minutes was tough. And to be fair, Frank, Arsenal did score, I would say, against the run of play. Saka attempting a shot, which looked to be going off target, but it hit Romero's leg and deflected inside the left-hand post. And look, again, we made that point. Frank, you said, you got Saka doing the Maddison celebration. I've got to be honest, maybe call me old-fashioned. I think doing that at 1-0 in a derby so early on, again, as much as we've said Saka's a wonderful young player, I think, again, maybe it's the immaturity showing there that, that can come back to haunt you as maybe you feel it did today, given how Maddison really played a vital role for Tottenham. I want to ask you, Frank, for that goal, do you feel Romero was at fault in any way? I heard Gary Neville say that Romero almost lashed his leg at it. Do you agree with that, or do you think that's harsh, bearing in mind how that goal came about?
I agree with the point about his body shape. He probably could have been turned slightly at a better angle, but ultimately, I know it was the way that we played, but you expose Saka one-on-one with any player in the world. A doggy's a top young player, but any player, even a Kyle Walker type, who's got all that pace, there's going to be a problem. And Doggy was poor for that goal. Even when he dropped off and put his arm out, you saw it post-game in the analysis, waiting for someone else to take him over. And Brennan Johson sprinted back to do absolutely nothing, didn't he? Just really sprinted back. Bro, to be fair, busted he got to get back to just be a passenger, and they both showed him inside. So, obviously, if you're marking Saka and your intention is to double up eventually when your teammate comes to help you, the last thing you want to do is show him inside, and they both showed him inside. Johnson ran past him. A doggy stepped back. So Romero, he can't leave that, by the way. He can't leave there. He has to get his body there. He has to put something there. So I thought Neville was very harsh on Romero. Very harsh. I think the problem was before that, with the fact he was shown inside. And a doggy was poor for the goal. So you probably got to say it's his fault. A doggy. And it was a really poor goal to concede, Rick.
Yeah. I mean, again, I must make that point. Come over to you, Lee. Look, it came, to be honest with you, as after Kulusevski was dispossessed by Zinchenko. And as Frank mentions there, we gave far too much space to Saka to shoot. And again, I don't think there's any chance of Vicario with the goal. But do you, or are you concerned, Lee? And Jason made this point during the week that Spurs are giving away that first goal of the game on a fairly frequent basis. You trace it back to, obviously, early in the season. You'd say Burnley, Sheffield United, now Arsenal. Do you worry, Lee, against a real top elite side? I mean, I'm winding up the Gooners by saying that are watching this, that maybe we get punished on another day and we won't get back into a game that easy. Does that concern you?
There's a few watching tonight in there that are quiet, aren't they? There's a few watching quiet. But, I mean, look, I don't subscribe to the whole when we come up against an elite piece. I know you're joking, but we have faced Manchester United, we have faced Brentford away, we have faced Arsenal today. Now a top side inside. How many more sides we've got to face that you start going, oh yeah, what about? Look, is it a concern? Not when we're making all them chances, not when we're creating all that up top, not when we've got a double diamond, not when we've got 4, 5 players, 6 players in the attacking final third. Like it is a little bit, we score more than you, back to, Kevin Keegan days at Newcastle or Ozzy Ardiles back in the day. But again, I'm here for it. I think we've got to trust. Look, we've conceded another 2 goals today. Fair play, we did. But again, this XG, like you had it up on the graphic. How does this XG work? Maybe I'm too old. Like I'm over 40, right? So I know I don't look it. I know it's breaking news, but
Lee, the XG will be really high because they scored a penalty. So when you get a penalty, your XG goes through the roof because it's a chance on goal that you have to. You nailed on. Yeah. I'm looking
at this, mate, and I'm thinking, hang on, how they got 2.13? So they kind of. They didn't hit their XG because their XG was more than 2 goals, and then he's got 2. But our XG, here you go, the graphics at 1.31 for Tottenham. So we overachieved our XG. So what that's basically saying is we were better than them in terms of our expected goals because ultimately they should have scored more than what they did, and we shouldn't have scored as many as we did. I mean, I don't know, but I mean XG or YG, whatever it is, the fact of the matter is that when we're creating chances, which we are. I mean, you look at. I put a graphic up in the WhatsApp group. I'm just trying to find it quickly now while I'm chatting. Right, I put a graphic up in the WhatsApp group. Spurs versus Arsenal. Yeah, carries into the final third. 109. Right, this is not today. This is the whole season. Arsenal 81 carries in the final third. This is an attacking team. Progressive carries. Tottenham before today's game 164. Arsenal 123. Yeah, carries into the penalty area for the season, 5 games, Tottenham 59, Arsenal 37. So, we're a progressive team, a more attacking team, more even on the front foot than Arsenal. It's quite crazy. So, am I worried? I'm not. I'm just telling you, it is authentic. That's why you got me on it. Right? I'm just being. I'm not worried about the amount of chances we're giving away because the amount of chances we're creating. I'd be worried if they started drying up the other end and then we're still giving them away. I think our defenders have done pretty well. 2 clean sheets out of 6. You could argue that that's a bit of a worry, but why? What if you're winning games still? If you're still unbeaten, why is it a problem? I think sometimes we like to focus on not us personally, but just as football fans. We try to look for something. Oh, let's improve that. But why? Why do we need to? If we keep outscoring our opposition, then I don't think it's a problem personally. But it'd be
have you noticed as well, though, chap, that there's not many clean sheets this season. I know Palace and Fulham was 0-0 yesterday, but the new way of football, this progressive football, playing higher up the pitch, you're susceptible to getting done in behind. And we don't see many clean sheets anymore. It's a completely different football now than it was for years gone by. And those types of managers, the Joses, the Contes, I mean, Simeone's still, to some extent, doing it in Spain, but those defensive-minded managers, it's harder because ultimately teams are getting so much better at pressing now. They're more intelligent at the press. So if you're playing around your own box and you're playing deep and all of a sudden the ball gets taken from you, we witnessed this under Conte how many times, then straight away the opposition team's in behind. So football's changed. And obviously the idea is not to concede first. I get what you're saying, Rick, but it's just teams are struggling to keep clean sheets. But let's also not forget today that if Jesus puts that chance away that Maddison gave him, then it's a completely different game at 2-0 down. So I'm sure they'll be working on that. And
that's fair.
The good thing is I think we're recovering more points from losing positions than anyone, which is a good trait. Yeah. But obviously, you'd rather not have that. You'd rather start well. But next week, Liverpool, guarantee it.
Yeah, I know we're having. Sorry to interrupt a bit. I know we're having a go at Conte era and all that sort of stuff, but maybe some of that resilience has been instilled in this team from last season. I know a lot of the personnel's changed, but at the end of the day, like you look at it, right? Man City have conceded 3 goals in the league this year in 6 games. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. When you look at who they've got in their back line, by the way, they only had John Stones all season because he's been injured. But you've got Guardiola, you've got Diaz, you've got
Akanji, Walker. How much did they spend on Guardiola? And he's only
5 million. Exactly.
They've got the grace period of trying to ease him in. He doesn't have to start straight away. So I think they're the anomaly in the league.
Yeah, Liverpool haven't started brilliant. They're a bit, maybe people thinking we can go after them, whatever. They've only scored. They've only let in 5. They've only let in 5 in 6 games. Brighton have let in 8. Spurs have let in 7. Arsenal have let in 6. And then you got 10s and 10s and 10s and whatever going down the league. So in the top kind of 5, if you like, Brighton 8, Tottenham 7, Arsenal 6. So it is quite tight in terms of and you've got to look at the opposition that you're playing against on that as well. So creating chances, if you're giving Haaland 6 or 7 chances a game, he's going to bury. He's probably sticking a hat-trick away, isn't he? You look at the Manchester United game, I've had people on here and on Twitter and whatever, and they're saying, oh, yeah, but you were lucky against Man United. They could have scored. But they didn't. But they didn't. But they could have. Yeah, but they didn't. And then we got a clean sheet. So what's the problem? Do you know what I mean? It's one of them, Rick, for me. I just think that maybe, like Frank said, fair point. The game's different if Jesus puts that in, but shoulda, coulda, woulda. But he didn't put it in, and we ended up getting a draw, and we done all right to do that.
Yeah, we did. I mean, Pat, I'll bring you in. As the guys have alluded to there, it was almost a second for Arsenal straight after scoring. Maddison dispossessed by Jesus, but the Brazilian fired over from inside the Spurs box. And I know, again, we say moments that do change football because, as you rightly said there, Frank, that goes in. It is a completely, potentially different game at 2-0. It does change the complexity of the game at the Emirates. And then we saw Spurs, after that, create a couple of big chances. We saw Kulusevski and Son combine down the right. The captain pulled the ball back for Johnson, slightly scuffed it, and it was parried away on the goal line by Raya. And again, those points where you just think, is this going to come back to haunt us with that goalkeeper that Spurs are being linked with that they maybe should have signed but didn't sign? It was a great save by Raya, to be fair. He looks like he's Arsenal's new number 1 now. crucial contribution from him. We then saw Saar booked for stopping a counter, Basuma then booked for dissent, and there was that worry that maybe the game was going to potentially get away from us, but Spurs were in the ascendancy at that point, and they've been on top of Arsenal's goal since they did go behind, and that was really rewarded by Son turning in Maddison's cross, and it was lovely the way Maddison turned Saka, who earlier used his celebration against him, and then he found Son down the byline, lovely little flick from him inside the right post, and we said it before, Pat, that it's so impressive how Spurs came back into that game. Bearing in mind, 1-0 down, it was rocking at 1-0 in the Emirates. They kept playing the same way. They kept passing out from the deep positions. It gave them a foothold. They created some chances towards the end of that half, put enough pressure to force that equaliser. And you've got to say, at that point, Pat, it was thoroughly deserved and a great celebration from Sonny that made it all worthwhile at 1-1, right?
Oh, yeah, brilliant, man. Brilliant. I mean, that finish, like I said earlier, there's not many players in world football that can do that. And Son gets a lot of slander. Last year, a lot of Spurs fans turned on him. He didn't have a great season. You know, only scored 10 goals, which is not good by his for a player of his skill, ilk, ability, whatever you want to say, considering 3 of those goals was against Leicester as well. So he only scored on 7 other separate occasions. So last year he had a stink of a season. He's already got 5 goals this season. We're only 6 games in. So it just goes to show the caliber or quality of Son when he's on form. And if you play him in a high line against teams that will push up, if you play him against a high line, so, you know, your Liverpools, your Arsenals, your teams that will come and play us, Sonny is a killer. And one-on-one, like that chance that fell to Gabriel Jesus, if that's Son, he's scoring that all day long. And that's the difference. And I just can't believe it. You know, all week I've been battling. I had Arsenal fans telling me that Gabriel Jesus starts in front of Son. You know, when you do your combined 11s.
No one said that. No one
They
said
did.
that.
I promise you, there were fans saying that Gabriel Jesus starts in front of Son. Son is finished. Son is washed. Look at Son last year. I was like, wow, okay. And I'm so glad he got 2 goals today. And the difference in the ability, you saw it clear, is chalk and cheese. Sonny scores his big chances. Gabriel Jesus doesn't. And Son was great today as well. He was in the mix. He was doing different things. His movement, as I've always said, is exceptional. That guy is a brilliant player. And if Liverpool do what they do, because they're going to come and try and play, Son on a high line, if Maddison, touch wood, you know, I hope he's fit, Maddison threading in passes to Sonny, we can have a good week next Saturday because Son one-on-one is clinical. Even last year when we tried to get back into that game, it was Kane, Son and Kulusevski that scored, and Richarlison, wasn't it? When you give Son chances against big teams, he's going to take them. But yeah, going back to your question, yeah, it was deserved. I thought it was brilliant. And yeah, when we scored that goal, the whole of the Emirates just went silent. All you could hear was our fans. And it was great. And then, you know, and what I loved as well, because Gary Neville got so carried away, he heard him say, ooh, he was like screaming and he was celebrating with us. I was like, wow, Gary, calm down. Like, you're meant to be neutral. But Gary, you know, other than his slander on Romero, which I didn't think was that fair, and I think he kind of went overboard with Udogie. He was good. He was a good commentator and he was quite fair and he was giving us our props. I think he was being a bit too harsh on Udogie considering he had a good game and he grew into it. And again, I think he was a bit harsh with Romero for that goal because Romero has to go for that. There's no way he can leave it as a defender. But, you know, obviously it went in, own goal. It looks a bit comical, but there's not much he could do in that situation. But yeah, we were good value for the goal. It wasn't like it was against the run of play. It wasn't like we were like backs against the wall, arses out, hanging on, and then we scored.
We were building up to it, Pat, wasn't we? Is that fair?
Yeah,
we were building
up
to it at that moment.
I think they showed the stat that the last 10 minutes before that goal, we had 63% possession. Yeah. And even, I mean, we controlled the ball away at the Emirates. And even, you know, obviously you can't put a million stats on the screen, but we had 435 passes to their 370 passes, and our passing accuracy was 86% away at the Emirates, by the way, and theirs was 85%. They're a good ball playing team, and we're showing now that we're just as good. So there was a lot of, and like I said to you earlier, Ricky, for me, I wanted to see, this was our first big test. Man United was meant to be a test, but they're kind of crap this year. But if you look at it, this was our first big test away from home against a good team, and we stood up. We stood up in every single category in terms of on the ball, playing out from the back, creating good clear-cut chances, defended well at moments, didn't let the occasion get to us, still imposed our kind of play and style on the ball, on the game. And yeah, I'm proud of them. Like I said, I'm very proud of the performance today. Very proud of and yeah, Maddison made a mistake and we almost got punished. Thankfully, we didn't. But what I loved as well is that every time we went down, we stood tall and got back into it. The referee wasn't on our side. Eddie and Ketty on another day get sent off. That was a horror challenge on Bukayo. Thankfully, that didn't connect.
I'm glad you brought it up, Pat, because a lot of people, I think Match Day 2 will skip over that. The same way they skipped over last week at Sheffield United.
That's a red card.
I'm shocked. Exactly, because even if he doesn't or doesn't catch him, studs up,
he scissors
out of control. That's a red card. I don't understand how no one, and they didn't even make a meal of it. VAR didn't check it. I'm sorry, that's a red card for me.
Have you been right not get booked as well, by the way, before both got booked. That's challenge on a doggy. How did he not get booked?
How's Saka not getting booked for jumping into the crowd?
Exactly.
Yellow card.
Exactly.
Rules, man.
This is why there's the frustration of these so many inconsistencies there are.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And we'll come on to the penalty in a minute, because again, I know many people will feel with a penalty, look, again, if that penalty goes against you, you're frustrated. If it's in your favour, it's one that you're champion. It's a real difficult one. But just on Son at that moment when Son equalised, it now means for Sonny, he has now scored 108 Premier League goals, overtaking Darren Bent, equaling, I believe, or just passing now Paul Scholes' record. And he's now scored more North London Derby goals than Gareth Bale, Thierry Henry, and Robin van Persie. And just to put that point, as Pat said there, about the possession stats and the way they change, that since the 35th minute of that game, Spurs have completely overtaken the attacking momentum against Arsenal. It started rough, but obviously we grew into that game, as we mentioned. But as Postecoglou's side ended that half, they had 61% possession in the first half at the Emirates, which just shows you how much Spurs were really, really becoming a dominant force. So we went into the break with the score at 1-1. So that's going to be very nice for us now to take our next break of the show. For our listeners and audio, you are going to hear from, and he is jubilant, the wonderful Heung-min Son, who is becoming a Spurs legend, you've got to say now, captain as well, really stepping up to the occasion. He sees you into this break here for our listeners and audio. Just a very brief reminder here, guys, that we are delighted to be sponsored by NordVPN. Right now, they're running that special promo where you can receive 4 extra months for free and no risk with Nord's 30-day back money guarantee. Really good if you guys are on the move, you're overseas, you want to see your favourite shows. Nord enables you, allows you to do that with all sorts of different ways. Overseas football when you come in, and obviously as well protects your laptops, bandwidth restriction. Nord is there for your helping hand. We've got that discount running right now, nordvpn.com/LWS. There's still a good 1,700, 1,800
you written that down, Pat? Are you written that down, yeah? Get that down in that book, son. There you go. Get that down. And also as well, it's really good if you're overseas, and a lot of overseas viewers and listeners, if you're overseas and you haven't caught Sky Sports and Paul Merson saying that we're going to get absolutely destroyed by Arsenal, NordVPN, brilliant to pick up all overseas Sky Sports coverage by Paul Merson.
We should have that one for sure. Thank you, Lee. We appreciate it, mate. Well, we're going to go right into that second half. Frank, let me come round to you. Let's discuss the penalty. Because again, I know, you know what, despite the fact that many will say it was very much, you know, one of those that it does hit his hand, and if his hand's not there, it's a certain goal. It's a penalised situation for Romero. He's penalised. It's a similar incident versus Man United, which sort of given the benefit of the doubt. But this time, Robert Johnson does point to the spot after a VAR review, and Saka obviously puts it down the middle. Now, Postecoglou laughed when the decision was shown on the big screen, but White shot, as I mentioned here, with not being biased at all, it does struck Romero's arm in that 6-yard box. But I also asked the question, Frank, if you need to look at that many, many times, is it really clear and obvious? And I want to also make the point, what about the push on Maddison in the build-up to the goal?
The push was a push, but it's not clear and obvious. If again, we've had these conversations how many times, Rick, and on the show and in private. If it takes 10 times to look at an image or a clip, rather, of an incident, it's not clear and obvious. I think unfortunately, the referees who referee our game and the hierarchy that run, obviously, the referees, haven't actually played the game. So they don't understand that when you actually fall down, obviously I understand if you're putting your arms out to make yourself bigger and make yourself wider and the ball hits your arm, it's obviously a handball and a penalty. But if you're lunging in or diving to the floor, then you're supposed to dive like a pencil. You don't dive. It's like when you jump as well. You don't jump with your hands by your sides. You jump with your arms out. And if you're leaning down or you're trying to sort of put your foot or put your knee out, or put even part of your body out, and you're lunging in. You lunge in, you put your foot out, and your arms go out. You know, they go out the side of your body, don't they? At different angles and all the rest of it. Where is he supposed to fall? Where's his arm supposed to go? As someone rightly said, when he falls, where is he supposed to put his arm? It's not like his arm's gone towards the ball. His head's turning away, by the way, so he can't even see it, Romero. His head's looking the other way, so it's not like he's looking at the ball and his arm's gone out. So the interpretation now, it's not just today. We've seen it in so many games since this rule has been introduced that pretty much as soon as the ball hits the hand, that's it, it's a penalty. It's utterly ridiculous. But then against Luton, the West Ham Luton game at Luton, James Ward-Prowse in the last minute. To be fair to him, he wasn't looking, but the ball hits his arm when he's jumping in the box, and a penalty wasn't given. So what context are they applying? It's like they're making it up as they go along. There isn't any kind of consistency to these decisions. They have to take into account that when players, again, within reason, as long as they're not putting their arm to the ball, looking at the ball and moving towards the ball with their arm, if a player is lunging to make a block, he's not naturally going to be in a position of a pencil with his hands by his side. It's nonsense. You know what?
Can I cut in? I'm going to be controversial here, and maybe, but I think it is a penalty. You know, I'm just got to be real. Like his hand, the ball strikes his hand. It was going on target. Probably would have been a goal. Yes, it's harsh, and Romero can't really do much, but it's a handball in the box. It's a penalty, because if that went against us, we would be fuming. So you just kind of got to keep it consistent. All I want from
in the context of the rules, the new rules, it's a penalty. I get that totally, and the rules are the rules. So yeah, it's a penalty within that context. But the rules need overhauling.
100%. They need to be consistent. It needs to be the same week in and week out, game in and game out.
Apply common sense and say, right, is this deliberate here, or is he actually making an attempt to block the ball and he's not looking and his arms out? There has to be, in my opinion, a definition. They have to rewrite the rules.
But Frank, you know, the deliberate thing again is a bit of because 9 times out of 10, when somebody slide tackles in or makes a bad challenge, they don't mean to do it, but obviously they time it wrong or things don't go the way that they should do, and it's a miscalculation and it's a bad challenge. You get sent off. 9 times out of 10, players don't mean to do these things, but it happens. So again, a handball, more often than not, a player's not meaning to punch the ball, but a handball is a handball. But it's just, they just need to do it and give it all the time.
The old rules, that wasn't the rule, was it? It was accidental. It was accidental. But what they've tried to do is they've tried to change the rules to encourage more goals. That's why.
Yeah.
That's exactly why they've done it. But I feel sorry for the players. I mean, that Wolves one yesterday was a joke. I mean, where's he supposed to put his arm? I mean, it's like the Referees Association are expecting these players to play with their arms taped to their waists. I mean, it's nuts because they haven't played the game, so they don't understand. But as Pat rightly said, within the rules of the game, as the rules are now, yeah, it's a penalty. It's frustrating. Saka takes a very good penalty, very cool and calm, and you know, in a pressure situation, it's a good penalty. Keeper can't do anything about it, and unfortunately for Spurs, we go 2-1 down.
Yeah, I mean, John, if I can come over to you, Lee, just to get Andy's view on the penalty. He was asked, what was your view? He said, look, mate, I couldn't see, but I've got no idea about the handball rule, as these boys have both said here. I really don't. I saw the one yesterday at Wolves, as Frank just alluded to as well. It just seems if it hits your hand, it's a penalty. And other times if it hits your hand, it isn't a penalty. I've got no idea. It is the one rule in the game that I just don't understand. Unless we, as Frank just said as well, unless we start developing armless defenders, I don't know how you are supposed to block these things and be in a natural position. It is what it is, mate. You kind of hope these things even themselves out over the course of a season. But honestly, I don't understand the handball rule. I've said the same thing to the referees in the past. I don't know how they see it with you. I think any clarity would be really good because I've got no idea. That is probably just me, but I have no idea what this handball rule is because I've seen all sorts of handballs given and all sorts of handballs not given, and they all look identical to me. I don't know. I just don't understand it. I mean, look, you just speak so honestly. Lee, are you any close to understanding if that's right, if it's not right? Is it one that, again, if you're as a fan and that's going for you, you want it, right? It's a very difficult balancing act on this one.
No, look, 100%. Look, I actually agree with Ange. I agree with everyone on this. The grey area, if you like, or the kind of you know, it's not clear, it's not clarified because we're having this debate. If it was so clear, we'd all agree on one or the other, wouldn't we? The thing that annoyed me the most about the penalty and the most about VAR since it came in is that when VAR gets involved in a decision that's subjective, it cannot be data driven, because data is not a subjective matter. Data is fact. So unless you get the rule correct, which is basically what we're debating, right? We're not debating whether or not the ball hit his hand. That's fact. It hit his hand. We're debating whether it is determined as, is that handball or not, right? Did he have it in an unnatural position? Did he hit the ball?
It's not intentional, though, Lee. That's what you're trying to say, is it? It's not intentional.
Exactly. That's my point, right? So when VAR gets it, so this is my beef, right? My beef is VAR get involved when there's a clear and obvious error, right? The on-field decision was no penalty. VAR then get involved. It takes him 5 minutes or whatever to figure out if it is or not. Tells the ref to go and have a butcher's at the screen, as they do. But it wasn't actually clear as a factual decision if it was handball or not. It's still subjective. So when the ref goes over, he bottles it, because as soon as he goes over to the screen, they always change their mind. Penalty. Whereas actually, if you look at some of the other sports that have used video technology, and I use cricket, Jason will love me for this. Nice one, Jason. I know you're watching. But when you look at cricket, the on-field umpire or the referee decision is final if they can't make a decision via video. Do you understand where I'm coming from? So the reality is that what we've done with VAR in football is we've taken away the ability for referees to make their own decision against decisions that are not factual. So let me just balance that by saying this. Offside is factual. You're either on or you're off. And you can argue all day long with me, toenail, fingernail, nose hair, whatever it is that's offside. But if it's offside, it's offside, right? You can't, there's no real argument for that. You can argue, it's like a toenail. But handball is subjective. And that's the bit, it's the rule that needs to be sorted out. And that's what's really frustrating. And again, I go back to this whole XG thing and this whole Arsenal thing. There's no way there's any Arsenal fans walking away from that stadium today not disappointed. And that says it all. They're all disappointed. They're all really annoyed because, quite frankly, they got out of jail free. They got given an own goal and they got given a dodgy penalty. They didn't even put us under siege at their own house, in their own castle, in their own backyard with that old stupid song that they sing, that they think it's some sort of like, You'll Never Walk Alone anthem. North London.
I hate that song. It's so corny. It's so corny, man. And the way they all
sing. Even from North London. You should be talking South London is ours, or whatever you want to talk about.
Woolwich, South East London.
So there's the judgment on that. It is very frustrating, but it's expected, isn't it? You're away at Arsenal.
The thing is, Lee, with anything subjective, Lee, as you said, with anything subjective, I don't trust this group of referees in the Premier League at the moment to make the right judgment call, and that's the issue.
Yeah, especially when we are seeing week in, week out so many inconsistency of decisions. Frank, one thing that wasn't inconsistent about Tottenham was bouncing back. A mere 90 seconds later, it's 2-2. It's Son again. Spurs take little time. They sweep up the pitch. Maddison takes the ball off Jorginho, who initially had all the time in the world to decide what he wanted to do with it. He ran on, passed it to Son, who calmly fired home. For Sonny now, he's already halfway to last season's goal tally of 10 in the Premier League. It's 150 for him in Lily White. He's now scored 5 goals in his last 3 games playing as a striker. And as we mentioned at that point, now only 5 goals apart from matching the goal tally of last season, with just 32 games left to play. I think there has been, again, as Pat alluded to, there's been some doubt over Son as to whether he'd come back this season and really try and show us that player that he was under Conte, where he got that golden boot. It does feel that captaincy role is massively inspiring him. And I think to prove it down the middle, again, I'll say this, a top team in Arsenal away from home to go and brag a brace. Does that give you the confidence, Frank, playing down the middle, he can do that on a frequent basis?
Well, I think I was perhaps one of the guilty party last season who was quite critical of Son. And I think Pat's right. Against the high line, and we've discussed this many times, you can't play a high line against Son. He's a cheat code against the high line because he's got that clever movement. I mean, the movement for the first goal, although that's not a good example of him getting in behind, was unbelievable, by the way. But yeah, the pace that we broke at, Maddison does so well. And when teams do gamble a bit, Son will score goals. He does struggle against the low block. We know that. His game isn't back to goal. His hold-up play isn't the best. His link-up play is good, but his finishing's world class. His finishing is unbelievable off both feet. I can't remember a player who's that capable off both feet. Can bend balls in the top corner with his left foot as comfortably as he can with his right. But yeah, the teams like Arsenal, Liverpool, the big teams, the reason he seems to, and Manchester City, the reason he scores in those games is because they do come out and play football. But yeah, it was great to hit back that quickly. Again, character, mentality, being on the front foot. I think last season, obviously, with the injury that we now know that he had, with what was happening behind the scenes, he had a World Cup as well thrown into the mix with the injury. So he had lots of problems, but class is permanent. He suits that role in this team, certainly, because we don't play it long. We don't try and hit the number 9 that often, do we? Vicario very rarely goes long, only if he absolutely has to. When we go long, we never win it anyway. So we always try and play through teams. And yeah, brilliant, inspiring decision to make him captain. I remember Ange at the time, or just before that, said he was quite impressed with how he connects people because he's such a nice human being.
Yeah.
And everyone had respect for him and liked him, and he takes the time to spend time with everyone. So captains come in many different ways, shape and forms. We've discussed this as well before. You have the John Terrys, the Terry Butchers, Tony Adams type captains. You have the Harry Kanes who lead by example, or Steven Gerrard, although he was vocal, he would lead by example. He'd train with maximum intensity, and they'd do it in every week for Liverpool. So you have the example leaders, and then you have the leaders who connect the squad. And he's definitely that. And he's now leading by example. And some of the ideas, you know, we hear about the little group chat that Romero, Maddison and Son are in against Brentford to go to the fans and do the huddle. And these ideas now are brilliant. And obviously he's got experience. You know, people tend to forget he's been captain of South Korea for a long time now. So he has experience of what it takes to be a captain, and he's played with some top players. At Spurs, he's probably seen as well, with perhaps what's gone on over the last few years, what probably not to do from a leadership perspective, for sure. And he's not a stupid guy, Son. He's an intelligent man. You can tell that. And brilliant to hit back that quickly. 23 seconds from kickoff.
Crazy,
Fantastic.
isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And again, I'll go back to what I said in the show earlier. In years gone by, that second goal has been the kryptonite of our teams. We've crumbled.
Spot on.
That is it. Particularly last season, give up. 2-1 down. You know, we worked hard to get back in a game. 2-1 down. That is the game. You know we're not coming back from that. But this team, it does feel different. Again, it's early days, but it certainly does. Ricky, you'll all agree with me. It does, doesn't it? It feels a bit different. This character, personality in this team. Maddison bundles of personality as a Son, and they combine well for both goals. And that second goal was fantastic. You know, picking up the pieces from Jorginho, picking his pocket, simple pass, and then the finish, he just passes it into the corner, very calm, low side netting, and limbs in the away end, as they say. I would have loved to have been in there. I mean, it looked great.
It was a lot of fun. Listen, you can see it was a lot of fun. Frank, I want to ask, Pat, I do want to ask you about Son as well. You personally said it's a derby. It's always a tough game, but the performance from the lads was fantastic until the last whistle. I think we gave everything so the fans can be really, really proud of the game. Obviously, we wanted to win, but I think the performance was perfect. And I think, to be fair to Son, I just think he's got, similar to Ange, just a really way of knowing what to say at the right time to the fan base. And, you know, we've also seen that with the way he went and did that huddle at the start of the season, just being able to really identify how Spurs fans feel, what these kind of games mean. He's almost, again, he's becoming also the devil, similar to that man that left us in summer was to Arsenal. Couple of goals today. Celebrations as well, Pat, I have to ask you about with Son. He really, really was trying to go with those Arsenal fans a couple of times. Look, as fans, we absolutely love that because, you know, that is what these derbies are about. It's trying to entice the opponent. It's trying to maybe gain a slight advantage. But I think there's one thing about Son, he just definitely gets his fixture, doesn't he, Pat?
Yeah, he does, and shout out to him because he talked the talk midweek and he walked the walk today.
Yeah,
like
spot
honestly, he's talked the talk, and I had Arsenal fans, Son's not ready, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Today he showed out. Those finishes, like Frank said, the way he passed that ball into the net against the top keeper, he looked like he was playing in the park with his friends. Like the pressure didn't get to him whatsoever. First finish, superb. Second finish, superb. Maddison's weight of pass all the time is on the money, and Sonny just did what he needed to do, and that's the difference. And that's why, I mean, for me, Sonny is still world class, because in those moments he finds the back of the net and his movement is exquisite. And against high lines, as we said, the guy will annihilate most teams and defenders. He's so good at those movements, and the guy can always run and finish at, with pace, high speed, left foot, right foot, inside the box, outside. The guy's fantastic. The only thing he can't do is header the ball. And like Frank said, his hold-up play isn't the greatest. He's not as strong as I would like him to be, but every player has their faults, and but yeah, it was great. And then he ran across, he cut across the away fans, did his shush bit, and then ran to the home fans. And then you seen like do the fist bump and chest bump with Maddison, and they did the camera celebration. I thought that was great as well. The thing I loved is it was like Saka and Maddison were going at each other. It's like it was weird. But you know what? Saka's annoying me, to be fair. I think, as much as obviously I hate every Arsenal player, but Saka he's a nice guy, in it. Like,
he's a nice guy. I think again he's one of those that you can actually say he looks like a nice kid.
But he was winding me up, man. What's he stealing Maddison celebrations for? He did it with Rashford.
I just at the time of it, Pat. The time of it is a silly thing to do when you're 1-0 up. Listen, if it's an 89th minute winner or a 93rd minute winner, it's different. To do that at 1-0 so early, I just didn't think was necessary.
The audacity of him, and I'm so glad we had the last laugh. I know we ended up drawing, but we had the last laugh as in we scored again, because I'm like, the cheek of you did it first. I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on. And then when he did it again, I was like, nah, this kid's actually winding me up. So I'm so glad, Maddison got the assist again. Sonny scored, and Sonny shushing their crowd up, and it was brilliant. And that's what derbies are about: that emotion, that rawness, that passion. Both sets of players had it, the fans had it, and it was a high quality game as well. Because sometimes derbies, you build them up a week and then it gets to it and it's a bit crap. But that game was good, and I need to watch it again, because I was watching it with emotion, and I was like, you want the game to end.
When you watch this game back, the game when you watch it back, there's things you don't see the first time because you're so mentally engrossed in it.
Should we do another show in the morning, mate?
I don't know if I can bring back Frank for another 2 hours.
Just on solid.
Oh, you want to come in, Lee?
Yeah, let me just come in quickly.
Can I bring you these quotes on Sonny and you come back off them, Lee, if I can? Can I just say, Anne said on Sonny, he's been outstanding as a leader and as a player. I've put him in that 9 position now. He just works so hard. His first thought is what's best for the team. He puts himself into that position and he has the quality to finish. I'm just so happy for him. When I talk about the great environment with the players, Sonny's leading that with Maddison and Romero. It points back to the point Frank said originally, that quite literally it's the vibe that the players are bringing, and Ange is just letting them happen. So look, give me your 5 minutes or a couple of minutes on Son, Lee, because listen, he deserves his own segment because of the way he's got Spurs both the goals and played an absolutely pivotal role.
Blimey, did you see everyone thinking, oh no, he's just giving Mac 5 minutes here?
I see Frank getting worried.
I just want to throw some facts, spitting some facts out on Sonny. He scored 108 goals in the Premier League. He's only scored 4 headed goals, which probably doesn't surprise everybody. But he scored 60 goals with his right foot and 44 with his left. So if you talk about, what Frank was talking about earlier, left foot, right foot, when you're talking about Patrick as well, look at that big thumbs up from Pat. Come on, talk to me.
I don't know how Pat even done that, but impressive.
You don't even know which way he's going, and that is the beauty of Sonny. He, we are Tottenham TV. We're friends of the show and friends of their show as well. Brennan Johson talks so highly of Sonny. He is an outstanding finisher, a world-class finisher. I'm putting him in the middle. I think it's been a bit of a genius move, to be fair. You start thinking about all the big goals he scored as well, Sonny. This is not, some of them are not that recent, but some of them are. You look at last season, he scored against Liverpool, didn't he? In that 3-3, did he not? He scored massive goals against Manchester City in the Champions League quarter-final, home and away. He scored 2, didn't he, at their place in that mad bloody 3-3 or 4-3 game or whatever it ended up being. He scored big goals, obviously, again today against Arsenal. Scored big goals in the past against Arsenal. I think he's now gone clear of Thierry Henry, and I think he might have equalled Robert Perez his goals tally in North London derbies. I mean, Harry Kane's got 14, but Son's now got 7. So, you know, after that brace today. So, you know, this guy is a big game player. He turns up in big games. He wants a responsibility. He says, I have some of that. You look at that leadership we've just been talking about. And for me, he's got absolutely everything. And the fact that we learned after the season last year, once the season had finished, we all learned that he was carrying an injury for basically the best part of 8 months. I think, Frank, you and I had a conversation about it in the WhatsApp group, didn't we? Absolutely unbelievable that he was carrying that injury. And now it all kind of made sense as to why he wasn't at the races. Let's be honest about it, like last season. And he wasn't enjoying the football. And now he's enjoying himself. He's a leader. Kane's gone. And when Kane was injured with them ankle injuries in 2018, he stepped up in 2019 throughout the Champions League campaign. Sonny stepped up. And now Kane's left the club. Sonny stepped up. And it's an absolute joy. And I can't wait. You know, they're talking about an extension of his contract. Sign it now. Let's get it in. Let's sign it now, because sign it when it's good, because that's when the vibe keeps going. And who doesn't like Sonny? Even go to other clubs who don't like the bloke. He's just amazing. I love the bloke.
Yeah. No, you're right, Spawn. He really is a nice bloke. Just after that, we saw Brennan Johson holding his left hamstring. He was replaced by Manor Solomon. And to be honest, at that point, it didn't good for Maddison either, whose knee seemed to jolt back when he got his foot stuck in the turf. It was one of those moments as a Spurs fan, you thought, oh my God, please not now. Please not now, after just coming back to 2-2 the way we were playing. But look, it does appear that Maddison, look, he carried on, seems okay. It's one that I presume we'll assess when Monday comes along, when Sunday comes along. We'll get a more idea of. If you missed what I said at the start of the show, Brennan Johnson's situation, he will be assessed. He left the pitch nursing a hamstring. We'll have to wait and see what happens, which is a real shame, because I've got to say, I know it's early days with Brennan Johson, the first appearance, and we saw him last week against Sheffield United. There are shades of a certain Dele Alli there. I'm not sure if everyone agrees. That young Dele Alli breaking through at Tottenham. There's that pace that I've got to say with Brennan Johson, which is quite scary. And you know, he's unlucky not to have scored today. A bit of a better finish he might have done. Arsenal, there were groans when the ball went up and Gabriel Jesus was brought off. Double change for Tottenham. Richarlison and Son off for Højbjerg, replacing Maddison, and Romero with the armband now. Udogie had to adjust after being fouled by Saka, who was in real pain but planned to limp on. And then we saw Udogie and Sarr both giving away fouls that could have earned them yellow cards. And then we did see, as Frank alluded to, that roar that went up, 10 minutes of added on time. And in that 10 minutes, really, it was just Bukayo denying Saka with a sprawling save. And that really brings us just a kind of overview, some of those players that we haven't mentioned during this show. Guillermo Vicario, that what impact he's made in goal for Tottenham. I think we all had those concerns over the summer, maybe coming in from a foreign league, how he would adapt. But today, made a couple of really good saves, a couple of early ones, one from Jesus, another from Nketiah. Couldn't do anything really about Romero's deflected own goal. And then Saka stuck his penalty down the middle. And he had to save late on, as I mentioned there, from the winger in added time. A really good performance from Vicario, who is growing and growing and growing in the Spurs shirt every week. If we had more time, he would most certainly get more time. But I think we can all say Vicario, top performance. Frank, to come over to you on that defence in general. Porro, I think as you've mentioned now, he is kind of eluding those fears defensively. He's getting better week in, week out. Romero, as we said, overall, very unlucky with a couple of things that went against him today. But again, really, carried on, fought like a warrior to get Spurs that point. Mickey van der Ven, I think, will be the standout of that back line. Terrific early tackle on Nketiah. And a guy that gets better and better with every performance. And Destiny Udogie, look, he picked up a yellow card very, very late on. But credit to him, his maturity during the game was quite frankly superb. He showed bravery in which was his first North London derby. And as I mentioned there, to get booked, I said late, it was very early he got booked, but he managed that situation superbly. Overall, Frank, could you be any happier the way Spurs played as that back four with Vicario in goal?
Yeah, obviously, I could have been happier. We could have had a better start against Saka. We could have had a bit of help with Doggy. It wasn't perfect, let's be totally honest. Although we grew into the game, I think that would be the criticism, the tactic to leave the Doggy one-on-one with Saka too often in that first sort of 25 minutes. But no, generally, they've done very well. I think Porro is improving. I think that helps with the coach, or helps to have a coach that clearly is improving players, but we had a lot of concerns over him defensively. He seems to be getting better. I think the standout for the whole back five for me is technically, as I mentioned earlier in the show, how much better they are than what we've had They can all play through the lines. Romero's brilliant at that, playing either through or into the midfield, but they can all do it. The two fullbacks, when they invert, they have the ball playing qualities of midfield players. They do. Porro, certainly, with his crossing and some of the longer passes as well, that he can play through the lines, he's brilliant. But he deserves a lot of credit because he's worked very hard on the defensive part of his game. Obviously, it would have been a different proposition if Martinelli had been fit today. Let's be totally honest there. But he was brilliant. I thought he played very well. And Vicario's just been a revelation. I think there was a shaky sort of start to his Spurs career away at Brentford. There were a couple of things where you'd sort of scratch your head and think, oh, but they were obviously just debut nerves. And since then, he's looked so assured. He's brilliant with the high ball crosses, brilliant with his feet, left and right, great shot stopper. The save against Jesus in the first half was a difficult one because it was actually harder because he hit the ball into the ground and it bounced up. It made the save harder, didn't it? But he's athletic. He's got the build that I like of a keeper, that tall, sort of slim but not too thin, rangy looking type keeper. We didn't have that in Lloris for all of his qualities, with how agile he was. He didn't really have that presence, did he, Hugo? To dominate his area, and it feels like we've now got that. So credit again to the recruitment team to find him and sign him. If you listen to the way that the likes of Gianluigi Buffon speak about Vicario, said that he's going to be one of the best keepers in the world. Keepers tend to know keepers, don't they? So yeah, brilliant from Vicario. Overall, happy with the back four. Brilliant character from a doggy, shown after that difficult start. And again, let's just to reiterate my point. When playing Arsenal, not many managers allow their left fullback to go one-on-one against Saka. He must have been licking his lips when he realised that was the plan, because he's a top player.
Yeah.
So the way he handled himself after the early booking, the pressure, he made a couple of mistakes, showed huge character. But it's nice now to have a settled back four and a keeper, again, that can all play. They're only going to get better together. They're not going to get worse, are they?
No.
They're not. And as soon as they play over sort of 20, 25 games together, you'll probably see a massive improvement, which is quite frightening, really, but it's also very exciting. So, yeah, I think that back four has the capabilities, as time goes on, to be phenomenal. And let's just hope they all stay fit for as long as possible.
I suppose the key, Frank, just to let you quickly answer this, is obviously not just keeping them together, but adding to that, right? As you mentioned there, the next couple of windows will be pivotal to bring in another maybe senior defender. Would you agree that's what Spurs do need to actually emphasise and enhance that back line?
We need at least another centre-back as good as those two. We need another goalkeeper to either challenge or complement Vicario. And we need a left-back. I mean, this hasn't been mentioned, but with all due respect to Ben Davies, he can't play how Doggy plays. He's just not that player. He's not an inverted fullback who can go into midfield and play through the lines and beat players. And, he's got that ability to go around two or three players, pace. We need another one of those. I'd say Emerson Royale is a capable backup for Porro and played very well against Brentford, by the way. Very unlucky to be dropped. But no, we need work there, because again, if for instance, just for example's sake, and I hope I'm not tempting fate, but just say one of the centre backs is injured and the doggy's suspended, for example, the drop off in quality is huge. Yeah. So we need to start plugging those gaps in January.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the only concern is, like I say, we should enjoy this time, rightly so. The concern is outside of those 12, 13, 14 players. That is the element of a worry. Just to rightly give the due to some players, I think when Pat Matasar, we've said maybe he's one that maybe grew into the game. He had to pick up a tactical foul early on, but it was, again, he's only very, very young, 21, 22. Pat Matasar, a good showing from a young player that's going to get better and will experience more of these derbies. Yves Bissouma, we know he always picks up a yellow card. Once again, he did, but again, showed some nice touches. Dominated, I thought, the second half when he really needed him to today, and played ever so well, and rightly so. James Maddison, look, as we saw, apart from the fact of handing Jesus a chance in that first half, I think you've got to say he had another really, really good game for Tottenham. There were fears, as we said, with that injury to the knee, where he jolted at one moment. Could he carry on? He did. He was replaced later on by Højbjerg. But look, not even his best day, Maddison. 2 moments of sheer magic. He silenced those, Arsenal fans and sent, as we said, those delirious Spurs fans into absolute ecstasy. 2 goals, 4 assists in 6 Premier League games. And as we mentioned the point with Postecoglou, we've not even seen the better James Maddison yet. So take a bow to him. He was superb. No midfielder has registered more goals and assists in the Premier League since the start of last season than James Maddison, and that's 25. Dejan Kulusevski, another hard-working display for him down the right-hand side. I think Pat earlier did not stop running. It'll be only disappointed that really the end product wasn't there of last weekend. As we touched upon as well, Brennan Johson making his full debut, unlucky not to score. He was bright, he was busy. He may have felt, like I say, he was unlucky not to be on the score sheet, but we hope that injury isn't too serious again. He'll be assessed on Monday, which will hopefully then we'll understand more over that hamstring. We saw subs come on. Manor Solomon replacing Johnson with just under half an hour to go. He worked hard down the left. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg came in that final 10 minutes to see out what was 100 minutes of a game, which is what we're going to see more of, I think, this season. But again, credit to him. He's now had to really adapt to having more of a squad role. I think he's done that well so far. You've got to say Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Unfortunately, as we saw, we lost Ivan Perisic during the week. He again would have been another pivotal figure. He still feels he'll come back before the end of the season. We shall wait to see. And Richarlison coming on. He had a looping deflected shot over Raya that caught him on the goal line. And look, unlucky maybe not to score, but did cause Arsenal problems. Lee, got to get your thoughts on it if I can. He was asked after the game, Postecoglou, are you pleased with how they kept on going despite making the errors? And he said, look, that's the most pleasing thing because that's going to happen. You're playing against a top team. You're not going to dominate for Arsenal over 190 minutes in a whole game. So you're going to have some wobbly moments, but maybe where things didn't go our way, a couple of mistakes on the ball, you're looking for that reaction. Their reaction was outstanding. We just kept playing. We didn't get flustered. We didn't lose belief. That's a great sign because we've got challenges ahead for sure. We've got more blocks in the road to come, more obstacles to overcome. We've just got to maintain being in this team of belief that where we want to be is where we're going to go. It's big words from Ange Postecoglou. Now we reflect after this Arsenal game, Lee, just to ask you, do your expectations change or is it just a case of one game at a time for what's going to be, again, a season where we have got that kind of 1 week momentum, that 1 week break to keep on analysing, looking at games until, please God, we've got a long FA Cup run to set in from January?
Yeah, I think so, mate. And I think it's quite interesting that Postecoglou alluded to the fact that James Maddison and Heung-min Son were carrying something going into this game. Considering we ain't played all week, in fact, we had 8 days off. And he said they weren't. He mentioned in his post-match pressure that they wasn't 100%. So I thought that was quite interesting. So yeah, I think it is. I think it's, look, next up's a massive game. Frank alluded to it earlier. A massive game at home. The gap's going to be absolutely rocking now against Liverpool. And look, it's no silly mistakes. I mean, you could argue today that there was silly mistakes. A penalty and an own goal that could have, is undone us a little bit. But I think we have started to eradicate touchwood. By the way, touchwood here, fingers crossed and all that stuff, everybody. But we've started to eradicate some of them stupid mistakes that we always used to happen against some of the bigger teams. We alluded to it, last season against Liverpool. We played pretty well, to be fair, against Liverpool. And in the second half, but in the first half, we were absolute donkeys. And, Eric Dyer giving the ball away to Mo Salah and et cetera, et cetera. It's a massive game. But I think it's just one at a go. Next it's Saturday, isn't it? The late game we're going to. So next Saturday's another massive test. We've got what, 6 days to prepare for it. We'll be fully prepared for it. I think there's Carabao Cup is there in the midweek. I might be wrong here, people, but it might be. And we're not in it. Liverpool will be. So they've got to play either the second team and the youngsters. He tried to do that in Europe this week as well, just gone, and he had to bring the big boys on, and it didn't hurt him today when they're turning over a very, very average West Ham side. Yeah, all you Hammers fans, happy Hammers. Yeah, are you dropping off already? I just want to have a quick, nice story, if I can, about Bukayo. I'm wearing his top tonight. Absolutely superb. I'm loving the bloke. Literally loving him. Backed him from day one, like some people. And I know you're all watching. Some people that didn't back him, yeah? Some of my friends, they know who they are. But absolutely brilliant. I thought it was, again, superb. But one of our own, Adam Osper, he was at the game today. He took his boy. Absolutely loving it. And he was actually sat behind Bukayo's parents in the away end. absolutely brilliant. Go and check him out. Sports Financial Planners. He's tweeted it. It's a brilliant story. And yeah, absolutely. Venom's parents were in the away end, properly singing up, "Come on, you Spurs," singing it along, hands up in the air, proper atmosphere. I just think it just brings again that family feel back down to literally family feel. And by all accounts, I was chatting to him earlier, and by all accounts, Vicario's nan was like a couple of seats up to the left as well. So he had his nan there and his parents.
It's a family affair, right? It's a family affair, right? I'll tell you, it's
family, mate. Superb story.
Oh, it is, Lee. I mean, mate. Again, before I let you go, listen, we're all going to obviously see off, but exciting times, right? Just to finally say, to you, Lee, exciting times. Lots of excitement in the air for what's to come.
Exactly. Look, I think Ange, since he's come into the football club, he's embodied everything that I want my football club to be. There's still questions against this board. I'm going to say this, and a lot of Levy out people are going to hate me for saying this, but it's just my opinion. It might be BS coming out of Levy's mouth, but he's come out and done 2 massive interviews, and we've been craving for him to come out and communicate with, from the club. And he started to do that. Whether or not that's good leadership or whether he went hiding, where was he in the bad times? He didn't show his face, but he is now. So let's just move on from where we are. This is the Ange effect. This happened when Poch came into the football club, when Poch was talking about when they went whitewater rafting together and they were all in the family. But I think, I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm never, ever going to slander Poch, even though he's down the road. But maybe this is a step up from Pochettino. Ange Postecoglou totally gets Tottenham. He totally gets all of us. And he's bringing all of us, even the chairman, even the board, together as one. And that can only be powerful. We've seen what it's like down the road. Arsenal have done it. To be fair to them, they had the Aubameyangs and they had the Ozils, and they had some real tough players in there. And they've changed from Stan Kroenke to his son. And the change. I think you had Lee Judges on the show, didn't you, midweek, Rick? And he was talking about that change. And we've seen it happen with our own eyeballs, and we're now seeing it again. Like, I've got really good friends, as we all have, like Arsenal fans or whatever. And, the way that they felt about their club over the last 2.5 years, we're now feeling that change is happening. And every game that goes past, every day of training that goes past, every week that's happening, we seem to be building and getting stronger. And we can now feel that we're building up towards something. Whether or not that's a failure again in a semi-final, whether that's a failure in a final, whether or not, dare I say it is a title charge, only time will tell. But I'm absolutely loving it. And, you've got to ask yourself a question, man. Look, some people will say you're not Spurs if you don't think the wheels are going to fall off. Fair enough. We've had a lot of pain, but you've got to enjoy it when it's here, and it's here. So start enjoying it. Don't start thinking, oh, what about? Just enjoy what we are doing. And if you see me in the South Stand, I'll be in Block 252 on Saturday. Come and have a drink, have a sing song, and let's get involved, because I'm fully on board with Big Ange.
Lee, thank you so much, mate. Lovely to have you back on. It really has been. I'm going to come to Frank. I'm going to come to Pat then with Frank. Pat, possibly was asked the question, are you ahead of schedule? He said, look, I don't have a schedule. We don't have a schedule. You never know who you are, where you are going. So I don't worry about it. Wherever we are, it's a good place to go further. That's why I've always looked at it that way. I've never put any timelines on it or said it's going to take a while. The undeniable fact is that we're 6 games in with basically a new team. I don't know how many of these guys today would have started the North London Derby. You guys would know better than me, but I would reckon 1 or 2 of them would have started. That's a fair turnover, and the way we're playing, irrespective of if we are behind or ahead of schedule. What we do know is we're 6 games in, we have an encouraging start, and we just need to keep on working with that. Pat, I think it's fair to say, many pick up on the fact, 6 games ago, there was an air of unknown, an air of trepidation coming in. I know you feel maybe that it's taken you 360 and swung you like a pancake, as Leah said earlier. Pat, how much are you just loving it right now in terms of this cycle we are in with Tottenham?
Yeah, 100%. And so many people in the comments are asking me, Pat, how you feeling about Big Ange? Are you on the Ange train? 100%. I'm Big Ange all the way, fully involved. So yeah, it's testament to him, man, because I was just vocal with how I felt. I thought I was honest it was my opinion, no one else's. It was my opinion. I just didn't think when he was appointed and we had been linked to, and everyone knows the stories, your Nagelsmans, your Arne Slots, Pochettino, this person. And I just thought all of these managers were better suited to come in and take us where we wanted to go, knowing the Premier League, obviously managing bigger clubs. I wasn't really that impressed with his resume and a CV. And I think the guy was almost 60, hadn't managed at this level. Was it too late? And all of this stuff. And like I said to you guys as well, I saw how he played against Real Madrid with Celtic, and in the Champions League, he played his brand of football and got turned over. And I was like, he was naive and doing that week in, week out in this Premier League. But I was wrong, and I hold my hands up. I was completely wrong. The guy's come in and he's overhauled our squad, and he's done it a lot quicker than people would have thought. He's come in and really wanted certain players that none of us really would have thought, like Brennan Johson. Today, I thought Brennan Johson was really good. I know he could have taken his chances better, but the fact that he started in North London derby, for me, he looked really good. Vicario, again, another one that we went with instead of going for the other guy that is starting for them now. He's looked brilliant. Mickey van der Ven, again, someone that some fans, wouldn't have known that much about. Has come in and slotted right in. And he's got everything right so far. And we said that there's going to be bumps in the road, new manager, new team, understanding this league. So far, touch wood, it's been smooth. There will be obviously some ups and downs, and you never know. Liverpool on Saturday, it might be the first time Liverpool are a top team. I want us to get carried away, and by all means, if fans want to believe, they should do. I'm not here to be negative. I love Tottenham and I want us to be positive, but we have to understand Liverpool are a good team, and obviously if we mess up, they could punish us. But at the same time, I go into this game with a lot of confidence, and we can also give it to Liverpool. And I said it, I've been saying it all week. I was relishing this chance or this test today, because unless we play these big games and unless we play these big teams, we won't know where we're at. We've had a real good indication that we can go toe to toe with the big boys. And every game is different, and I know but no one can talk about shoulda. I know Arsenal fans tomorrow may say to you, if we would have done this, we would have, but shoulda, woulda, couldas don't count, because we also had chances and it could have been a different story as well. The end game is it's 2-2, well-deserved point. Ange Postecoglou came in, played his brand of football, gave the guys the belief. Even when things weren't going well, they kept their heads, they kept going. And I think he's been brilliant so far. He got manager of the month, and touch wood, that curse hasn't come back to haunt us or bite us in the arse. And he's continued playing his brand of football. And every week I'm seeing new people say, they're Spurs fans now and they love Ange Postecoglou. Even my guy, West Ham fans are saying that, Dan Lawless, big West Ham fan. He's saying as much as he hates Tottenham, he loves Big Ange. And I'm just seeing this all over the place. People are falling in love with him. And I have as well. I was Big Ange in all before. But of course, in a game like this, people are going to come out and ask me again, because it was a great result against a big rival. But yeah, man, Ange hasn't done anything wrong for me. And even if he does, dare I say, maybe we lose 1 or 2 or we drop points, at the end of the day, and I did say this as well, so if people are going to be fair, and when he was appointed, I said I'm going to get behind him and support him. He's here now, and I've done that. But I am Ange all the way in. And I think he's a brilliant manager, man. And I think fans should get excited, because what we've seen so far shows that we can have and should have a really good season.
Pat, thank you so much. Of course, you and Lee be back on regularly. Lee McQueen on those socials, as well as Patrick Tyrant as well. Frank, we've got to close it with you, mate, because we don't always have the opportunity to bring you on, and we just love having you on, as you've seen from a lot of the comments tonight. Frank, I just want to know, we spoke earlier this morning, you did say to me, Rick, I absolutely dread this fixture. I don't look forward to it. And I know, again, it's one of those that you have to kind of get through rather than be able to enjoy it. Now it's over. Just to ask you, Frank, because again, mate, as I say, we don't always have you on all the time. We'd love to have you on more. Where does this now sit in terms of your expectations for the season? Does it change anything, or is it for you just one game at a time and just watching this Spurs team grow and develop under Ange and just go from there?
Well, the nature of that conversation this morning was me telling you that we're not going to win. We're going to get beaten. We'll probably play well.
I was trying to be polite to you, Frank.
No, you were trying to be nice there. But yeah, I said to you, look, we'll probably play well and we'll have dominant spells and we'll get beaten in a really brutal sort of fashion last minute, whatever. I can't remember exactly what I said, but no, it has, in all truth, lifted my expectations. This team continues to surpass my expectations with their character and resilience. We know they can play football. We've spoken about the technical abilities within this team and the high level and standards that they have for that. But for me, it's the character, and they're showing already for a young team, no fear. They're fearless. And listen, we might go to the Etihad and get turned over by 5-5-2, 6-3, something ridiculous. That may happen. But I'm so happy with this team. I think that we possibly can raise the bar now for where perhaps I was thinking at the beginning of the season, top 6. I genuinely think with the teams around us, all being in Europe, Villa, Newcastle, and Brighton are not going to finish as high as they finished last season, in my opinion, because of the fact that they're playing more football. Perhaps haven't got the squad to cope with that quite yet. They probably will have. Well, Newcastle certainly will have at some point. Man United not being where I thought they would be. I thought they'd be. I thought they'd be not challenging, but they'd be sort of second or third this season. I don't think they will be. Chelsea falling off a cliff. I mean, that is. I don't know what is happening at that football club, but I think we've got a real opportunity to get back into the Champions League, and I didn't think that at all in the summer. We're not there, obviously, challenging for the title yet, but it would be lovely, Rick, if we could go far in the FA Cup and try and win that, which will be difficult with Liverpool and City, and there's Arsenal as well, and you get a tough draw in the 5th round away at Anfield or away at the Etihad. I mean, it's going to be tough, but that would be fantastic. But I'm going to say it here and now. I'm convinced we're going to finish in the top 4. I'm convinced. I think it'll be City, Liverpool, Arsenal, and Spurs in the top 4 this season.
Did you mention a couple of sentences ago the title? Yeah.
No, I said we're not quite. Oh, no, sorry, Lee, I said the double. I said we're winning the double, but no.
How are you Spurs?
No, not the truth. I think top 4. I think we'll get top 4, and that's good. I'd like to go far in the FA Cup, and then next season, when we're back in Europe, let's have a good couple of windows and make sure we've got the squad. And we'll be okay on the range.
Yeah. Just funny, again, a prominent Arsenal channel, obviously, you'll know they're AFTV. I've seen, again, a lot of their interviews. They are, saying today they were very fortunate. There's a lot of praise for Tottenham on there. And I think this says a lot when you've got rivals that are very much bigging up the team, and a lot of them saying, really like Ange, can't stand Tottenham, but like Ange, it tells you we're in a really good place. When you've got Frank saying things like that, Tottenham finishing in the top 4, when you remind ourselves about the finish Spurs had to last season, the car crash of it, just shows you how far we've come in such a short space of time. But look, we are 6 games in. We're 7 games overall of the Ange Postecoglou era. We are getting excited. I think as Lee mentions at the very top of the show right now, Lee, as you said, if we can't enjoy it now, what's the point of being fans, right, Lee, to close it on? If we can't enjoy it now, Lee, what's the point, right?
Just enjoy it. And, if you can get down there, look, tickets are hotcakes nowadays. I remember going there last season, and it was an absolute drain. And it was interesting hearing Lee Judges on the show midweek. He was saying that like going down the Emirates a couple of seasons ago, it was a drain to go to the game. It was so like that, wasn't it, last year for some of us going to the games. It's not like that now. You can't get a ticket on the exchange. You can't get a ticket anywhere. And it is just absolutely buzzing. If you can get a ticket, if you're going, get down there, just get involved, just enjoy it, and get behind the team, because this is the time to do it, Rick, isn't it? And
absolutely.
Rick, let me throw over to you. How are you feeling? Just to sum up, it is the last word on Spurs. It is your show. You give us the last word, my man. How are you feeling after today and what's to come?
I think, to echo all you guys have said, I think we've just got our Tottenham back. I think whoever wanted to see a Tottenham team that would go away to the Emirates and you'd be disappointed not to win, I think that just shows you how far we've come as a football club. It's a joy to watch it. It's a joy to be a fan. It's lovely to be behind a manager. It's lovely to hear a manager speak so glowingly about the football club. It's lovely to hear a manager so ambitious about the football club, and long may that continue. I could do another 2 hours on here, but I know, listen, we're very, very lucky. Really wonderful guests that have come on, amazing listeners that have enjoyed it. Over 5,000 have enjoyed this tonight. So look, all I want to say is, because I know it's very, very early, let's just keep enjoying what we're seeing. It's early days, but with 1 week momentum in between games, we've got a genuine opportunity to really take advantage of a lot of those teams around us. But look, guys, thank you ever so much. Really enjoyed it. The wonderful Lee McQueen, the superb Patrick Tyrant, the brilliant Frank Major back on last one on Spurs. As Soul Flow says here, Maddison, Bentancur, Basuma. God, I think this would be amazing. And I agree. We've got so much to look forward to. As we've said, a couple more windows. Could we? Should we? Would we? It's exciting times. But from all of us here, guys, please keep safe, keep well. Thank you for all your love. And as always, come on, you Spurs.